Chapter 1271. You guys, looking at the three of them, Li Jiping was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? At this moment, Li Jiping was completely at a loss. He raised his head and looked at the smiling Lin Rei. In an instant, he was dumbfounded. From Lin Rei, he saw kindness. It was different from the ruthless look he had when he was killing people. What the hell? What do you mean? Don't keep smiling at me. If you continue to act like this, can I still stay in Hongtian Empire? Unconsciously, Li Jiping started to avoid looking at Lin Rei's eyes. He did not want the emperor of Hongtian Empire to misunderstand him. If that happened, the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. His entire family would probably not be able to live in peace. Lin Rei naturally understood Li Jiping's worries. He smiled, ran his fingers through his hair and smiled. Li Jiping, these are the 3 ministers and 9 ministers who are against you. As for before, I think there were a few minister of revenue or something like that, right? Of course, if you feel that this is not enough, I can get Ouyang Zhen to kill more. What imperial preceptor, minister of war, General Wei Hu, General Jinbei, whatever. As long as you want, I can give you the entire empire. How about it? Boom. A bolt from the blue struck the resigning relative. His mind went blank as he stood there in a daze. He looked like he wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Lin Rei found it funny. As the saying goes, the speaker may not have the intention, but the listener may have the intention. Although Li Jiping did not have such thoughts, his subordinates did not think so. In their hearts, only Li Jiping was their commander. As for the emperor, to hell with it. They were the ones who went to the front lines to kill the enemy. The ones who got promoted and got rich were those civil officials who spent all day writing. This kind of situation made their hearts cold. From afar, when Aunt Ming heard Lin Rei's words, her heart moved. She took a step forward and said, empty-handed, "Senior, is what you said true? Are you really willing to help my master?" "You, Aunt Ming, what do you want to do?" Li Jiping angrily roared and glared at Aunt Ming. Normally, Aunt Ming had always been meticulous, tight-lipped, and a person who kept her word. But now, she had actually spoken such disgraceful words. This caused him to find it a bit hard to believe, but for some reason, his heart felt warm. He understood that Aunt Ming was doing this because of him. If it wasn't for him back then, Aunt Ming would have been killed by the bandits. "Prince," looking at Li Jiping, Auntie Wei said, "Your Highness, after so many years, have you still not seen through Hong Ji's nature? Back then, if it wasn't for him, how could the princess have died? If it wasn't for him being greedy for the princess' beauty and wanting to force himself on her. All in all, I've had enough of this kind of monarch. What heaven's will? What heaven's will? What heaven's mandate? That's all bullshit. In this world, only those who are capable are able to control the vast lands and allow hundreds of people to live a peaceful life. If it wasn't for you, that bastard Hong Ji, this empire would have been destroyed long ago. And now, if he's not thinking about seizing military authority from you, he's thinking about how to frame you. What are you waiting for? Could it be that there will be a day when the princess corpse is placed before you for you to wake up? Your Highness, wake up. Aunt Ming's voice was hysterical. Every word she said pierced into Li Jiping's heart. All these years, how could he not feel pain for someone who had forced his beloved wife to her death? However, there were so many commoners in the Hongtian Empire. If he were to rise, the entire empire would be engulfed in the flames of war, and the commoners would be homeless and destitute. This was something that he could not allow. It was also because of this reason that he had persevered until now. Even his own daughter, Li Yunju, had always thought that her mother had died of an illness. However, now that Aunt Ming had revealed the truth, she finally knew that her mother had been forced to her death by the monarch that she had been protecting. Thinking about what she had done to Hong Ji all these years, endless disgust surged into her heart. In the end, she couldn't help but roar towards the sky. This scene stunned Lin Rei. Originally, he thought that he would have to spend a lot of effort to persuade her. But now this Aunt Ming had helped him greatly. He couldn't help but feel that Aunt Ming was more pleasing to the eye. Lin Rei did not disturb this scene. Instead, he walked towards the 3 ministers and squatted down. Looking at the 3 of them, Killing intent surged in his heart. TSK. Look at the three of you. All of you are covered in fat. Do you think that I can squeeze some oil out of your fat? What are you trying to do? The three of them were terrified. They had all witnessed how terrifying Ouyang Zhan was. Yet, such a powerful figure was standing obediently at the side, as though he was trying to scare them. Looking at the young man before them, they knew that the identity of this young man was definitely not simple. What are you trying to do? I am Li Wenbo. If you touch me, I'm afraid that the entire Hongtian Empire will hunt you down. At that time, you will poochie. A stream of blood spurted out from Li Wenbo's neck. It was like a fountain. The scene was extremely festive. Li Wenbo's head rolled to the side until it stopped in front of Li Jiping. You really killed him? Li Jiping was shocked. Although Li Wenbo didn't have a lot of weight, he still possessed extraordinary influence in the imperial court. And now, the person who used to be high and mighty fell at his feet. Dry tongue. Facing the headless corpse, Lin Rei casually threw out the illusory spirit blood fire. The corpse that spurted out blood instantly turned into ashes and disappeared in the river of time. Demon. You're a demon. The remaining two people at the side regained their senses and screamed. Their faces turned pale, and their bodies twitched as they moved to the side. Right now, the only thought in their minds was to stay as far away from Lin Rei as possible. As long as they could stay away from this person, they would do anything. Even if he asked them to sell their wives and daughters, they would agree without hesitation. Are you quiet now? Looking at the remaining two people, Lin Rei coldly snorted. Let me tell you, right now, the only thing you can do is to tell me what kind of shameful things you've done in your entire life. Also, tell me your entire fortune. If I find out that you're lying, at that time, not to mention the two of you, even your wives and children will suffer endless pain. Do you understand? We understand. We understand. I'll speak first. At the side, a middle-aged man couldn't help but speak out all the bad things he's done in his entire life. Of course, it was nothing more than murder, robbery, and prostitution. Just like that, before the eyes of the crowd, the two of them spoke out all the shameful things they've done in their entire lives. There were no bad things. There were only worse things. One was worse than the other. There was no comparison. If one were to say that there were only bad people in this world, then the two of them were unparalleled. It should be said that they were equally matched. They were simply too amazing. Lin Rei was extremely disgusted by the two of them. Of course, he did not consider himself to be a good person. However, the people he killed were all cultivators. As for the two of them, the people they killed were either the old, the weak, the women, the children, or unmarried young ladies. They even schemed against their own wives and families. Toward people like them, Lin Rei wished that he could cut them into 8 pieces, skin them, pull out their tendons, and light them up. Very well. The two of you are truly wicked. Although this exalted has killed no less than 1,000,000 people, those were all people who deserved to be killed. As for the two of you, both of you deserve to die. You deserve to be killed. Of course, the most important thing is that the two of you are blocking this exalted's path to becoming a powerful expert. As long as someone blocks this exalted's path, they must die. Therefore, prepare yourselves. After saying that, he raised his hands and pressed them on the top of the heads of the two of them. Spiritual energy flowed from his palms and instantly turned into silver needles. Then, the needles entered their Bai-Wei acupoints. The two of them screamed miserably. Their complexions turned pale. At this moment, cold sweat and tears flowed down their faces. What did you do to us? Their bodies trembled uncontrollably. However, their lower body did not have the slightest bit of intuition. This caused the two of them to feel fear in their hearts. This was especially true for the heart-piercing pain. This was the most painful feeling they had ever felt in their lives. This feeling did not only come from their bodies. More importantly, it came from the depths of their souls. Combining the two of them, they were able to endure until now. It was their courage. You can't endure it anymore. Seeing the two of them in such a sorry state, he sneered and continued. This is only the beginning. Next, the two of you will feel even better. After saying that, a small dagger appeared in his hand. He brandished the dagger and slashed the two of them. Pieces of flesh were peeled off from their bodies. In the end, the flesh fell to the ground. Blood and gore. None of the people present had ever seen such a scene before. Even a clan head of the Ocean City's Ouyang clan, Ouyang Jun, had never seen such a terrifying method. However, apart from Lin Rei, Ouyang Jun was still fine. The rest of the people bent over and began to vomit. They looked like they wanted nothing more than to vomit out a month's worth of food. Lord Father, I'm scared. At this moment, Li Yunju was looking at Lin Rei. Her eyes were filled with fear. Her body unconsciously retreated into Li Jiping's embrace. She buried her frail body in Li Jiping's embrace. It's fine. Don't look. Don't think about it. Lord Father will protect you. Li Yunju's wide and firm embrace embraced her. In the distance, Lin Rei was still continuing. It seemed like he had no intention of stopping. He was still brandishing the dagger. Boom! Suddenly, the illusory spirit blood fire appeared and covered the dagger. With the illusory spirit blood fire, the dagger slashed the two of them. Zizin. Their cries of pain became louder and louder. However, their voices were filled with exhaustion and powerlessness. TSK, how boring. Feeling the vitality of the two of them continuously flowing out, Lin Rei lost interest. After all, they were just mortals. It was impossible for them to recover on their own, like cultivators. Looking at the two of them on the verge of death, Li Yunju felt disgusted. He brandished the dagger in his hand and slashed it across their throats. Poochie, blood spurted out. A cut appeared on their throats. Blood spurted out violently. The place was drenched in blood. It was like an Azura battlefield. Those who heard it could not help but tremble. Looking at the two corpses, Lin Rei stood up and kept the dagger in his storage ring. Then, he wiped his hands and looked at Li Jiping in the distance. He said, "So, have you thought about it? Yes, accept my request, and let me help you unify the world. Or give up this opportunity." Lin Rei's voice pulled Li Jiping back to reality. He was afraid of Lin Rei. He did not want to be associated with such a cold-blooded and heartless person. Thinking about his daughter and his family, he shook his head decisively. "No, I understand Senior's intention. However, I am already used to this kind of life. So I am sorry." Li Jiping's refusal seemed to be within Lin Rei's expectation. He did not get angry. Instead, he smiled and turned around. He sent a message to Li Jiping. "Go. Since the prince is not willing to let me help, I can only follow my heart. Young master, please give me your orders." Ouyang Jun cupped his hands, waiting for Huang Xiaolong's order. "Throw these two corpses to the family that has a grudge with Li Jiping. Remember, the family that has the deepest hatred. I believe that they will use these two corpses. When the time comes, I am afraid that Li Jiping will not come begging me." The corners of Huang Xiaolong's mouth rose, forming a bloodthirsty smile. Ouyang Jun, who was watching from the side, shuddered. A chill ran down his spine. Ouyang Jun bowed and stretched out his hand. Holy spiritual qi emerged and wrapped around the two corpses. In a flicker, they disappeared. After Ouyang Jun left, in the distance, Ouyang Ting, who had recovered from her injuries, opened her eyes and a smile appeared on her face. Just a moment ago, she felt the key to breaking through to the next realm. If she could find this key, breaking through to the next realm would be just around the corner. She stood up and patted the dust off her clothes. Holding her sword, she tiptoed over to Lin Rei. Lowering her head, she admitted her mistake in a low voice. "Young master, this subordinate knows her mistake. In the future, this subordinate will not let down young master's efforts." Actually, you don't have to take it to heart. You have just stepped into the Tao Gate. You still have a long way to go. When the time comes, you will understand that the principles that this sovereign imparted to you are real and effective in saving your life. Young master, this subordinate, all right, let's not talk about this anymore. In a while, you will go and keep an eye on that person. It will be time for you to take your revenge. After saying that, Huang Xiaolong waved his hand and removed the shackles on Fan Jun. The illusion formation around him also disappeared. Once the illusion formation was broken, Fan Jun naturally regained consciousness. He turned his head in a daze and saw Li Jiping and the others. "Your Highness? Your Highness, why are you here?" As Fan Jun spoke, he took a step toward Li Jiping. However, just as he took a step, a sword image charged at him, leaving a long sword mark where he had taken a step. "If you don't want to die, stay where you are and don't move. Otherwise, with the next sword strike, you will definitely die." Chapter 1272. He turned around and glared at Lin Rei. Facing Lin Rei, he felt an indescribable killing intent. If not for the fact that he was no match for Lin Rei, he would have already attacked him. TSK. Looking at those resentful eyes, Lin Rei smacked his lips. He wanted to laugh and said, "Little guy, before you try to kill me, please take a look at the corpses around you. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you'll regret it." As he spoke, Fan Jun pointed at the corpses on the ground. The scene of blood made one's jaw drop. When he saw Li Jiping just now, he only wanted to laugh and walk over. Now that Lin Rei reminded him, he saw a scarlet color from the corner of his eyes. The pungent smell of blood rushed into his nose and mouth. He turned around and looked at the scarlet corpses in the distance. However, the moment he saw the corpses, Fan Jun was stunned. His face turned pale, and his parents were sweating profusely. His eyes widened as he looked at those familiar figures lying on the ground in disbelief. His mind buzzed and tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. How? How is this possible? How could they? You killed them. Lin Rei opened his mouth. His voice was filled with coldness. When he said those words, a cold smile appeared on his face. His appearance made one's heart turn cold. "No, impossible. How could I attack my brother? You're lying to me. It's impossible." He opened his mouth and roared. However, halfway through his rebuttal, the scene of him slaughtering everyone flashed in his mind. Suddenly, a bad premonition appeared in his heart. The more he thought about it, the weaker his body became. He staggered backward with a face full of disbelief. It was impossible. Linley, who had been watching all this time, revealed a smile on his face. Wasn't this the result he wanted to see? Thinking about it, Linley tossed a torch onto the already burning gasoline. Instantly, the fire grew larger and larger, and there was no way to stop it. "Little doll, you don't say. Your performance just now really made me sigh with emotion. We were once comrades, once brothers. I didn't expect you to kill them in such an illusion. Not bad, young man. You have a bright future." As he spoke, Lin Rei couldn't help but clap and cheer, as if this was something worthy of praise and pride. Fan Jun understood that all of this was done by the young man in front of him. Otherwise, he would not have done such a thing. Plop! I fell on but with a loud thud as tears streamed down my face. I cried so hard that the world turned dark. I cried so hard that it pierced through my heart. No, impossible. How could I kill my brother? It can't be me. There must be a mistake somewhere. Yes, it must be you lying to me. Pointing at Lin Rei, Fan Jun roared. He did not believe that the people who used to drink and chat merrily with him in the past would all be lying on the ground with their faces pale and their eyes wide open. They died with remaining grievances. From afar, Li Jiping, who was watching this scene, let out a long sigh. As a bystander, he understood what Lin Rei meant. What he did was to destroy the heart. Now, even if Lin Rei didn't kill him, Fan Jun would probably never hold a blade in his hand and enter the battlefield again. With this experience, Fan Jun would probably live in a nightmare for the rest of his life. He would be haunted by this bloody scene forever. You will only be like this for the rest of your life. This is the price you have to pay for trying to deal with me. Young master, could it be that you want to keep this person alive? Hearing Lin Rei's words, Ouyang Ting questioned. Previously, she said that she wanted to prove herself. Originally, she wanted to fight again to make up for her previous mistakes. But now, from Lin Rei's words, she could tell that Lin Rei was planning to let go of this person. What do you want? Looking at Ouyang Ting, Lin Rei's interest was piqued by Ouyang Ting's words. Ouyang Ting couldn't hide anything from him. She directly said, "Of course I want to kill him. It's this subordinate's fault for not making a move before. This time, young master, please rest assured. This subordinate will definitely kill him." Her words were clear, and her eyes were filled with determination. Xiaohua has changed. Li Yinzhu looked at Ouyang Ting and came to this conclusion. Indeed, Ouyang Ting had changed. She had become bloodthirsty and determined. She had changed to the point where they could no longer recognize her. In Lin Rei's opinion, all these changes were very good. "Xiao Ting, you don't have to worry about this matter." As he spoke, he pointed at Fan Jun, who had sunk into madness, and sneered, "Do you think that the current him is better than being dead?" His heart is now filled with pride, pain, regret, and unwillingness. And I want him to live in this pain for the rest of his life. Of course, perhaps one day, he will wake up, but by then, he won't live for long. Because when he had the thought of going against me, his life no longer belongs to him. As he spoke, he turned to look at Ouyang Ting and continued, "So, remember this. If you want someone to suffer, you don't necessarily have to kill him. Sometimes this kind of pain is far more torturous than death." Hearing this, Ouyang Ting's heart trembled. Her understanding of Lin Rei deepened. She didn't say anything and nodded heavily. She remembered all these things in her heart. "All right, this matter is over. As for him, let him live. Let him live in repentance." As he spoke, his gaze fell on Li Yiping and the others. A smile flashed across his face. "We will meet again. I hope that when that time comes, you will still have the same attitude." With that, he turned around and left this bloody place with Ouyang Ting without looking at Li Yiping and the others. After Lin Li left, Li Yiping made 3 confirmations. Finally, his body relaxed, and his tense expression collapsed. Finally, he's gone. He was fearful of Lin Rei's strength. He swore that he never wanted to see him again. However, what made him even more terrified was the 3 officials he had killed, as well as the Minister of Revenue and the other officials he had killed. If what he said was true, the court would be in turmoil. When that time came, he would not be able to escape. Thinking about it, he felt that time was running out. He locked his gaze on his daughter, and his heart tightened. His eyes were filled with determination. At this moment, in the Hongtian Emperor's palace, the lights were brightly lit. There was a cacophony of noises. In the heavenly palace, Hongji sat on the guard, anxiously looking at the civil and military officials below. His face was as gloomy as water. At this time, he should have been playing around with his beloved concubines and making children. Yet, he had appeared here. Tell me, more than 10 officials were killed in a day, including the 3 ministers and 9 ministers. Tell me, how should we deal with this matter? Chapter 1273. The crowd was silent. Hongji seemed to have seen a crow flying past him. The atmosphere was awkward and depressing. Below, no one dared to speak. More importantly, this matter came too suddenly, and they weren't prepared at all. Fear had already taken root in everyone's hearts. At this moment, no one was willing to stand out. As the saying goes, the bird that pokes its head out will be shot. Who could guarantee that the murderer wasn't in the crowd? If they were to speak now, it would be tantamount to courting death. However, Ruolin and Lane knew what they were thinking. They would probably sneer and say that they were thinking too much. However, there was one thing that they were absolutely right about. That was, everyone present, as long as they were enemies with the emperor, had to die. It didn't matter if you were a noble, or even the emperor of Hongtian. There was no exception. Don't you all have any thoughts? Are you all going to let the murder get away scot-free? If that's the case, then where is the dignity of Hongtian Empire? Where is the dignity of emperor? If so, will the citizens of Hongtian Empire still respect their emperor? Hongji was furious. He was disappointed in the citizens who claimed to share the emperor's burdens every day. His gaze swept across the crowd. In the end, his gaze landed on the spot where the emperor's equal, Li Yiping, stood. Looking at the empty spot, he felt a sense of security disappear. Where is the emperor's equal? Why isn't he here, yet even though the emperor has summoned him? Hearing this, the eunuch beside him hurriedly stepped forward and replied, Your Majesty, the emperor's equal has caught a cold and is bedridden. So, oh, is the emperor's equal all right? Did you summon the imperial physician? How is his condition? Hong Ji was agitated. At such a crucial moment, he needed this protector. Now that the protector was sick, his sense of security was lowered by a few standards. Your Majesty, the imperial physician has gone over. He said that the emperor's equal is currently in this state because he has overworked himself. Not long ago, he suffered from a hidden illness on the battlefield. Your Majesty, don't worry. The imperial physician said that there is nothing serious. He just needs to recuperate. Upon hearing that the emperor equals was fine, Zhang Xian's worried heart immediately calmed down. In the emperor's palace, Li Jiping was not bedridden like what the eunuch had said. Instead, he was sitting alone in the study room, staring blankly ahead. His heart was in a mess. In his mind, he was still thinking about the shocking things that Lin Rei had done. Previously, not long after Lin Rei had left, he had sent people to seal off the area within a radius of 3 miles and ordered them to clean up the blood and corpses. As for Fan Jun, just like before, he was immersed in a deep sense of self-blame. His mental strength was extremely weak, as if he had just recovered from a serious illness. His face was sickly pale. No, we can't go on like this. We have to make some preparations. Otherwise, when those people realize what's going on, the entire prince's mansion will become the target of public criticism. Thinking of this, Li Jiping was no longer in a daze. He stood up and said, Go and prepare for me. Send all the secret guards to gather in the manor. As for the outside world, find me a quiet place. I want it to be absolutely safe. Do you understand? There was no one in the room. However, after Li Jiping finished speaking, a black-clothed man suddenly appeared from the shadows. He came before Li Jiping and knelt on one knee. Understood. Your subordinate will take care of it now. Your Highness, don't worry. Mim go. Li Jiping nodded and waved his hand to dismiss the black-clothed man. Even so, despite his efforts, he still felt that it was not enough. Thinking of the words that Lin Rei had said before he left, he did not feel the slightest sense of security. I hope that everything will go according to my wishes. Otherwise, sigh. He let out a long breath, and his face was filled with exhaustion. In just a single day felt like half a month had passed. His mind was tense, and he didn't dare relax in the slightest. Even now, he was unwilling to let his mind completely relax. Outside Hongtian City, on a huge peak, Lin Rei sat cross-legged. His face was expressionless, and no one could tell whether he was happy or sad. Ouyang Ting stood in the distance like a maidservant, as if she was waiting for Lin Rei's summons at any time. As for Ouyang Zhen, after he sent the two back, he returned to Lin Rei's side. However, he did not receive Lin Rei's card mission, so he did not continue to act. The two of them quietly waited for Lin Rei, waiting for his orders after he woke up. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a red blush appeared on the horizon. The fiery red sunlight slowly rose from the east. The scene was very enjoyable. A ray of sunlight shone on Lin Rei's eyes. Those tightly closed eyes could finally open. A flash of light flashed past and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Phew! Exhaling, he withdrew his cultivation and raised his head. Looking at the two people waiting in the distance, a smile appeared on his face, as if he had thought of something happy. He stood up, patted the dust off his body, and walked to the two of them. Young master, Looking at the two of them, Lin Rei replied and asked, How was the outside world? Did the Hongtian Emperor investigate the deaths of the officials? No. Lin Rei was confused. According to his thinking, it should be impossible that they did not have a Guqin. After all, those people were the pillars of the imperial court. How could they not have one? Lin Rei did not understand. Not only him, even Ouyang Zhen was shocked. Chapter 1274. Understood. I'll take my leave. After Ouyang Zheng left, Linli calmed down. His gaze fell upon Ouyang Ting. Seeing her current level of cultivation, he pondered for a moment. Little Ting, I'll bring you to a place later. Cultivate well there, and try your best to raise your cultivation to the highest level. Wait for my summons. You'll be of great use then. Do you understand? With a plop, Ouyang Ting knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Young master, don't worry. I'll do my best to raise my cultivation. If that's the case, relax and don't resist. Then, he enveloped Ouyang Ting with his divine consciousness. With a thought, the two of them disappeared in the system space. Lin Ray brought Ouyang Ting into the system space. This space was a space where time could be used for cultivation. 100 years would pass in here, and a few days would pass outside. The weaker ones would pass in a year. Of course, this was based on their cultivation. Lin Ray's price was basically the highest in this space. As for Ouyang Ting, a day outside was equivalent to a month inside. It couldn't be too much or her body would be damaged. Her fate wouldn't be able to withstand it and cause her Tao to be unstable. By then, everything he had done would be wasted. Obviously, this wasn't what Lin Ray wanted to see. Open your eyes. Ouyang Ting obeyed Lin Ray's words and opened her eyes. When she saw the scenery in front of her, she was stunned. She looked at everything with a shocked expression. She was on a mountain peak just a moment ago. However, in the blink of an eye, she was here. This made her feel unreal. From now on, continue to cultivate here. As for the elixirs, they're all here. Take the elixirs according to your cultivation level. Remember, don't be too hasty. With regard to Ouyang Ting's shock, Linli acted as though he didn't see it at all. He just continued to nag at her from the side. 10 minutes later, Linli's little mouth finally stopped. Glancing at Ouyang Ting, he said, "Remember what I said just now. Train hard. Only when your own strength is powerful can you truly have the advantage. Go." With that, Lin Ray turned around and disappeared, leaving Ouyang Ting alone. She stared blankly at the spot where Lin Ray had just stood. Unknowingly, a few minutes passed. Ouyang Ting's gaze suddenly became resolute, as if she had decided on something. I must cultivate diligently. Only then can I stand by young master's side and work for young master. With that, he turned around and walked back to his room. However, Lin Ray was unaware of Ouyang Ting's actions. At this moment, Lin Ray appeared in the space where the little dragon had been. Above the lake, Lin Ray could feel the extremely dense spiritual qi in the surroundings. He was completely stunned. It wasn't his first time here, but it was his first time encountering spiritual energy at such a high price. Moreover, how long had it been? Why hadn't the little dragon come out yet? During this period, he had often called out to the little dragon, but it was to no avail. Vaguely, a bad premonition surged in his heart. He had tried to ask the system, but the system's answer was that it didn't know. This made Lin Ray feel even more strange. Something must have happened to the little dragon. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. It seems that I have to find a chance to have a good chat with the system. With that thought, he sat down cross-legged, activated the chaotic heavenly scripture, and entered into a state of cultivation. Now that his cultivation had dropped to the level of a monarch god, if he didn't recover his cultivation quickly, he would be in trouble if he encountered some uncontrollable situation. In the emperor's equal mansion, Ouyang Zhan arrived. His divine sense spread out and instantly enveloped the entire mansion. Almost instantly, he found Fan Jun's location. Oh, still the same. You've been hidden well. At this moment, in a secret chamber in the depths of the mansion, Fan Jun was curled up in a corner very dispiritedly. His clothes were tattered and his face was haggard. His body exuded an aura of death as if he would die at any time. This guy, I didn't expect his willpower to be so weak. He only suffered a little setback, and he already has the idea of seeking death. It seems that you're also a useless person. When this is over, you should return to the Sea of Soul. After muttering to himself, he reached out and tore the space in front of him. A space was instantly torn open, and Ouyang Zhan's figure instantly entered it and disappeared on the spot. In the depths of the mansion, in the secret chamber where Fan Jun was, Fan Jun was curled up in a corner. His face was covered in tears, and the clothes in front of his chest were wet. With a creak, the tightly shut door of the secret chamber was opened, and the figure of an ant walked in from outside. Stepping into the secret chamber, he scanned the surroundings. When he saw Fan Jun in the corner, tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. How did this happen? How did you become like this? Didn't you say that everything would be fine and that you would clean it up? How could you be so foolish? Looking at Fan Jun, the ant cried while regretting her past actions. If the ending was going to be like this, then she would have done everything she could to stop him from taking action. Sigh. Originally, His Highness said not to make a move. It seems that His Highness saw how strong the other party was. I didn't expect that you would be so smart. It's all my fault. If I could stop you from taking action back then, maybe everything would be different. After saying that, Aunt Meng walked in front of Fan Jun step by step. She squatted down and touched Fan Jun's face. Looking at the extremely haggard man in front of her, her heart ached. Was this still the man who was full of metal back then? Was this still the man who wanted to go to the battlefield and serve the country back then? In the dark, Ouyang Jun had already arrived. Seeing this scene, Ouyang Jun smiled. I didn't expect that the two of them would have such a relationship. Previously, in front of the restaurant, he didn't see it, but now he understood. Rip! The space was torn open, and Ouyang Jun's figure walked out from the space crack. He looked at the two people below. Clap, clap, clap. Suddenly, the sound of clapping rang out. Suddenly, the hand that was touching Fan Jun's face was retracted. She immediately stood up and looked around vigilantly. In the end, her gaze locked onto Ouyang Jun, who was in the air. Why are you here? Could it be? Aunt Ming seemed to have realized something. She immediately stood in front of Fan Jun and said, He has already become like this. Could it be that the two of you are still unwilling to let go? Could it be that the two of you are really going to kill him? After saying that, her gaze was firmly fixed on Ouyang Jun. Her hands were clenched tightly, and she looked like she was in a battle state. Hee, do you think that you can protect his life from me? Ouyang Jun laughed. In Ouyang Jun's eyes, Aunt Ming's actions were extremely laughable. She was overestimating her own capabilities. In front of a saint, an ordinary person was actually prepared to fight. This was the first time he had heard of it. No, it was the first time he had seen it. Moreover, he had personally experienced it. Aunt Ming stuttered when she said the word, I. Then, she kept on stuttering. Her expression was resolute, but her body was very honest. Feeling the oppressive chilliness coming from Ouyang Jun, her body couldn't help but retreat. She only stopped when she could no longer retreat. Hey, ridiculous! Sneering coldly, his figure flickered, and he instantly appeared in front of Aunt Ming. He extended his hand and chopped at the back of her neck. Plop! Aunt Ming didn't feel anything. She didn't even feel the pain at the back of her neck. Her entire body went limp on the ground. Ouyang Jun's gaze fell on Fan Jun, who was in the corner. Looking at him, killing intent flashed in his eyes. He already knew that Ouyang Ting was injured. Towards this person who harmed his disciple, he wished that he could quickly kill him. However, it was a pity that he was still useful right now. He couldn't make a move. However, he swore that once everything was over, he would personally end his life. Sneering coldly, he extended his hand, and a red pill appeared. With a wave of his right hand, his Holy Spirit Chi transformed into a hand and instantly grabbed Fan Jun's mouth. With a flick of his left hand, the pill turned into a ray of light and entered Fan Jun's mouth. Although the soul-controlling pill was useless against saints, it was as easy as flipping one's hand for an ordinary person. Without the slightest resistance, they would all become puppets. Whoa! The soul-controlling pill dissolved in Fan Jun's body. In an instant, the medicinal effect of the pill spread throughout his body. Finally, after several dozen breaths, the pill completely took effect. Plop! Master! Without any warning, Fan Jun knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Ouyang Jun. His entire person was filled with respect. Looking at Fan Jun, Ouyang Jun felt that even if he asked Fan Jun to die right now, Fan Jun wouldn't hesitate at all. This scene made Ouyang extremely excited. If this pill could be mass-produced, at that time, the Ouyang family would have no place in the holy world. Wouldn't there be no place for the Ouyang family? Of course, imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel. Although he had such thoughts, the final decision was still in Lin Rei's hands. Moreover, he didn't think that Lin Rei would give him such a large amount of pills. In the end, he temporarily suppressed this fantasy and didn't continue. Looking back at Fan Jun, he sneered and said, "Let's go. Let's end this quickly." As soon as he finished speaking, the spatial crack appeared again. Holy Spirit Chi surged out and wrapped around Fan Jun. Then, the two of them disappeared from the secret chamber. In the entire secret chamber, only the unconscious Ant Ming was left. No one knew what had happened. In the Holy World, in Chuyuan Valley, where the Xuanzong sect was located, the situation was extremely solemn. All the upper echelons of Xuanzong sect were present. Lin Yun, who sat at the top, looked at everyone with a grave expression. His heart was filled with worry. Below him, everyone was already used to Lin Yun being the acting sect master. Back in the divine world, he was the sect master. Feeling the tense atmosphere, Red Lotus walked out and cupped her hands at Lin Yun. "Sect master, our sect has been expanding too quickly. It's to the point that some other sects have begun to plan on making a move against our Xuanzong sect." "That's right, sect master." Ming Ming walked out from the crowd and stood beside Red Lotus. He continued, "During this period of time, our sect's disciples have all been ambushed without exception. If it weren't for the fact that our sect's disciples were strong, they would have all died. Tell me, how should we deal with this matter? Should we kill them, or should we—" Everyone's face turned gloomy when they heard that. Kuei Gong couldn't help but speak up. "Ming Ming, is there even a need to choose? If the young master was here, there would only be one answer." Everyone's gaze turned to Kuei Gong when he said that. Naturally, he became the focus of everyone's attention. Those who offend our sect will be killed no matter how far away they are." "Good." Before anyone could react, Lin Yun clapped his hands and cheered. "Kuei Gong, you're right. I'm leaning towards your decision on this matter." Lin Yun understood his father very well. Just like Kuei Gong had said, if the sect was humiliated, the only way was to kill. There was no need for humiliation. Furthermore, he could use this opportunity to tell the entire Yellow region that the Xuanzong sect was not to be trifled with. Lin Yun's words won the approval of everyone present. Of course, they weren't trying to curry favor with those in power or flatter those in power. In fact, they also felt the same way. "Sect master, this matter needs to be considered at length." Just as everyone was about to agree, an untimely voice rang out. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. When they saw who it was, they chose to remain silent. Shadow was Linley's day. She was the true Madam Sect Master. Her words were equivalent to Linley's own words. "Mother?" Lin Yun was startled. He stood up from his chair and looked at his stepmother in a daze. He was clearly surprised by her objection. "Sect Master, we don't know the other party's cultivation. We also don't know how many saints they have. Furthermore, did you not think that there might be Earth saints in their camp? It's not appropriate to blindly make a move." Everyone fell silent. Indeed, they hadn't thought of that before. In their opinion, the sect's humiliation was enough for them to make a move. Lin Yun raised his head and looked at Ing. He walked down from his seat and bowed to Ing. "Father, please enlighten me." As the saying went, not being ashamed to ask for guidance was what a successful person should have. Ing was very pleased with Lin Yun's attitude. She nodded and smiled. "You're the sect master now. It's not appropriate for you to enlighten me. If my husband is here, he will send people to find out the strength of those sections. How many sects have joined forces and how many Earth Saints there are?" "Yes, that's right. That's indeed the case." Everyone couldn't help but nod their heads in agreement. "Since that's the case, then, Kuei Gang, you go." Lin Yun wasn't a person who would drag things out. Since there was a direction for this matter, Lin Yun naturally wouldn't delay. "Sect Master, I'm willing to go with Kuei Gang." Ming's voice rang out while everyone was waiting for Kuei Gang's reply. "You're going too?" Ming's words stunned the crowd. They all looked at Ming in confusion. They didn't understand. Huh, you don't have to look at me like that. Ming smiled when he saw everyone's confusion. I just feel that the sect is too boring. Moreover, since the young master isn't here, we should all do our duty and fight for the sect. Chapter 1275. Lin Yin sat back down on the sect master seat and looked at Kuei Gang, Ming Ming, and the others. He smiled and said, "Since that's the case, I'll leave this matter to you. We'll be waiting for your triumphant return." As soon as he said this, everyone turned around and faced Kagang and the others who were standing in the center. They cupped their hands and said, "We will wait for Xiao Wei's triumphant return." Just like that, Kuei Gang and the others cupped their hands and left. They were all at the great circle of the Dao fruit realm, so they wouldn't be in any danger. After all, they knew that the best sects had cultivators at the great circle of the Dao fruit realm. Of course, there's always a chance that those sects had even better cultivators. And this time, they were going there to verify this point. So, Lin Rei, who was cultivating in the system space, didn't know what was happening in the holy world. If he knew, he would have completed the mission even faster. Boom! A muffled sound came from Lin Rei's body, and the surrounding spiritual energy rippled. Great Circle, God Emperor. His tightly shut eyes abruptly opened, and a smile appeared on his face. I didn't expect that the spiritual chi here would contain such terrifying energy. My cultivation has returned to the great circle of the God Emperor realm after absorbing it for such a short period of time. He didn't know where the spiritual chi came from, but through his cultivation during this period of time, he could basically verify one thing, and that was that the spiritual chi here contained a terrifying amount of energy. If he calculated according to the original spiritual energy in the system space, let alone a short period of time, even a year or 10 years wouldn't be enough for him to recover his cultivation to this extent. System, are you sure you don't want to know where the spiritual energy came from? Lin Rei asked. I don't know. Lin Rei was speechless. Linley wasn't very satisfied with this answer. This was his territory. How could he not know that there was something extra here? Big brother, you should have found a better reason to lie. Using a reason that no one would believe. Do you think I'm a fool? Of course, Lin Rei wouldn't say this out loud, even though he couldn't guarantee that the system wouldn't pry into his thoughts. Forget it. It's pointless to ask you. Thinking of this, Lin Rei stood up. Now that his cultivation had returned to the great perfection God Emperor realm, it was impossible for him to increase his cultivation again. Even though he had only recovered the realm he had lost previously, it was equivalent to cultivating all over again. This time, Lin Rei felt that his strength had improved once again. If he was invincible in the same realm before and could even kill those above his level, he was now certain that he could kill ultimate masters in the exceptional realm and even sages to be. This was not a boast, but a genuine experience. The fundamental reason for this was because of the sudden appearance of spiritual energy here. Not only could this spiritual chi increase his cultivation base, but could also catalyze his physical body during cultivation. This made Lin Rei feel pleasantly surprised. Ever since his physical body had made a breakthrough into the sage realm, it had been extremely difficult for him to improve his physical body. However, Linley seemed to have seen a glimmer of hope now. It was as if a lamp had lit up his dark path and illuminated his path forward. Oh, right. As if thinking of something, he gathered his thoughts and looked up at the sky, saying, "Where's the little dragon? Don't tell me you don't know. You might be able to fool a 3-year-old, but don't forget, this is your territory. F***CK. You're playing with silence, aren't you?" Lin Rei was furious. He did not like to joke about the little dragon. In his heart, the little dragon was his brother, friend, and teacher. He would not allow anything to happen to the little dragon. The system's silence made Lin Rei unable to sit still. He could not figure out what had happened to the little dragon that even the system would not speak. Even in the past, when the little dragon fell into a deep sleep because of him. No, that's not right. Could it be? As if thinking of something, Lin Rei could no longer control himself. He looked up at the sky and roared, "System, hurry up and tell me what happened to the little dragon. Don't hide it from me." If something really happened to the little dragon used his ability to help you come here, the system said. What? Lin Ray was dumbfounded. This news made Lin Ray dumbfounded. He knew that the little dragon had helped him before, but then where is he now? Dead. The system's answer was very simple. This concise word summed up everything. However, Lin Ray did not believe this at all. He completely believed that others would die, but he only had 2 words to express the little dragon's death. "Ha! Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and tell me, how can I make the little dragon appear?" Lin Ray said firmly. Who was the little dragon? In Lin Ray's heart, he was like an unkillable cockroach. He died? What kind of joke was this? Heh, you know the little dragon quite well. As expected, hearing the system's words, Lin Ray confirmed his thoughts. He looked up and continued, "Tell me, how can I revive the little dragon?" System. The system fell into silence. Lin Ray's heart became more and more impatient. "I say, can you let me think about it?" The system scolded. Suddenly, Lin Ray was dumbfounded. This seemed to be the first time the system scolded him. After knowing each other for thousands of years, he did not expect the system to have such a scene. TSK, system, you've changed." The system had already seen Lin Ray's shamelessness. However, seeing Lin Ray's concerned gaze towards the little dragon, the system did not continue to be long-winded. The item needed to revive the little dragon is very rare. It is not available in the empty underworld. That item is in the holy world, and what? Didn't you say that an ancient ruin was about to appear in the East Sea? Oh, what's wrong? Lin Ray was puzzled. In that ruin, there is a treasure that can restore the little dragon. It is the soul flower and a holy spirit lotus. These 2 things, one can restore the little dragon's soul power, and the other can be used as a material for the little dragon's body. But you can't go back now, so it's useless to tell you this. Lin Ray was silent, but the system was chatterbox. I originally wanted to wait until you returned to the holy world before telling you this. I didn't expect you to be so impatient. Hearing this, Lin Ray scratched his head awkwardly and smiled. Can you blame me for this? Who asked you to not tell me where the little dragon was? I was also anxious. After all, if something happened to the little dragon, I would be very sad. Chapter 1276. All right, you win. The system admitted defeat to Lin Ray's words and didn't continue. Lin Ray also shut his mouth in tacit understanding and began to ponder silently. He really didn't know how to deal with the ancient ruins in the eastern sea of the holy world. After all, he was now in the empty underworld region. If he wanted to return, he would have to settle everything here first. On the other hand, Ouyang Zhen brought Fan Jun, who had become a puppet, to a tall palace. Qian Palace. Master, this is the palace where Hongtian Empire's Hongji lives. The security here is extremely tight. Why don't we the palace where the emperor lives? At this moment, Fan Jun didn't notice the glint in Ouyang Zhen's eyes and the smile on his face. Yes. Fan Jun nodded. Hee, if we can cause some trouble here, it should be very interesting. Ouyang Zhen was very excited when he thought of the mission he came here for. Originally, he wanted to kill some officials. However, since he accidentally came to the palace, it would be inexcusable if he didn't cause some trouble. Raising his head, he looked at the palace, and the smile on his face deepened. Just like here. Fan Jun was dumbfounded. What the F***CK is going on? This is the palace. Although he ate the soul-controlling pill, Fan Jun still had his original thoughts. He instinctively felt that this place was extremely dangerous. After all, this was the most dangerous place in Hongtian. Why are you afraid? Seeing Fan Jun's shocked expression, Ouyang Zhen sneered. This, indeed, it would be a lie to say that he was not afraid. He was just a mortal, yet he dared to cause trouble in a heavily guarded palace. Did he think that he had lived too long, or did he think that he had lived too comfortably? Go. Your mission is to compete with the Emperor here. Of course, it's not a real assassination. You just have to leave a mark on him. As for the rest, with me around, what's there to worry about? Pa! A slap landed on the back of Fan Jun's head. Before he could react, he felt his body become light and floated into the palace. Kacha, kacha! The palace doors were pushed open by Fan Jun, producing an ear-piercing sound. The moment the guards around and inside the palace heard the strange sound, they all drew their swords and rushed in the direction of the sound. Hey, you're quite fast. Through his divine sense, Ouyang looked at the people rushing towards him and smiled. He waved his hand and released his pressure. Suddenly, the soldiers who were rushing forward all fell to the ground. This happened so suddenly that the guards were not prepared at all. Of course, even if they were prepared, they still had to have the ability to resist. Fan Jun stepped into the palace, and when he saw the guards sprawled on the ground, he was stunned for a moment before coming to a realization. Having suffered a loss before, there was nothing to be surprised about seeing this scene now. He slowly walked in front of the guard and reached out to grab the long saber in front of him. Then, he walked towards Hongji, who was in the inner room. You dare! At this moment, an angry roar sounded from afar. Hearing this angry roar, Fan Jun turned his head and saw an old man sprawled on the ground in a corner. His face was red, and he was glaring at Fan Jun as if he wanted to eat him alive. Who are you? Fan Jun did not have any impression of this person. However, those who could be here basically had some ability. Furthermore, looking at his position, it was obvious that he was one of Hongji's bodyguards. I am Wei Wuyang, the head of the Xian Sect. Do you know what you're doing now? The head of the Xian Sect? Wei Wuyang. He had never heard of this sect before. However, those who could be by the Emperor's side were all extremely powerful people. Otherwise, the Emperor would not have placed them here. However, looking at the other party's angry gaze, Fan Jun's heart trembled. I say, old man, you're already like this. Instead of begging for mercy, you're asking me what I'm doing here. Moreover, are you really stupid or stupid? What do you mean? Wei Wuyang was stunned and asked doubtfully. It seems like you're really stupid. Wei Wuyang's answer was enough to prove that he was really stupid. Looking at Wei Wuyang, Fan Jun rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, what else can I do here other than assassinate? Do you think this question is difficult to answer? You even asked me specifically. Enough of you. With that, he turned around and ignored Wei Wuyang. Ouyang was still waiting outside the door. He did not want Ouyang to wait for him. Moreover, he did not have the right to make Ouyang wait. He turned around and walked into the inner room with his saber. Step by step, he slowly approached the inner room. Brat, aren't you afraid that your family will be annihilated? Wei Wuyang roared as he watched Fan Jun's figure leave. He began to circulate the origin chi in his body, trying to break free from this nameless oppression. However, reality gave him a solid slap. His efforts did not have any effect. Instead, he was in an even more sorry state. He had never thought that he would be in such a sorry state one day. At the same time, he was shocked. He did not understand what kind of ability could do this. Sigh. Without turning back, he sighed and reached out to open the inner room's door. Hongji was like a tortoise hiding in a corner. He held a long sword in his hand and trembled as he stared at the door. However, when the door opened and Fan Jun's figure landed in front of Hongji, he inexplicably relaxed. A smile flashed across his face as he said, So, it's Commander Fan. With that, the long sword in his hand drooped, and he sat on the bed. Is His Highness here? Looking at Hongji's current appearance, Fan Jun was stunned. He subconsciously knew what Hongji meant. So this guy thought that he was someone from the Emperor's residence who had come to support him. However, the more this was the case, the more Fan Jun forced a helpless and regretful smile. He did not think about how the Emperor's residence would know what had happened in the palace. Moreover, even if they knew, how could they come here without being notified? Any normal person would be able to guess that something was wrong. However, Fan Jun did not want to explain too much. Looking at Hongji, he raised his saber and sneered. Hongji, I didn't expect you to not only be stupid, but also not use your brain. How dare you? Hearing Fan Jun's words, Hong Ji's anger surged. He turned his head and wanted to retort. However, halfway through his words, Hong Ji was stunned. You? I'm here to kill you. How is it? Are you surprised? Are you happy? Chapter 1277. Looking at Fan Jun's ferocious face, Hong Ji was dumbfounded. In his mind, he was wondering what was going on. Why would the commander of the Emperor's equal prince's mansion appear here, and even say that he wanted to do something to him? Especially when he thought of the Emperor's equal mansion, he still couldn't believe that Li Jiping, the person who called him brother, would actually be afraid of being assassinated. Furthermore, where are my secret guards? Why didn't my secret guards come to protect me? This shouldn't be the case. However, no matter how Hong Ji thought about it, he couldn't imagine that his so-called secret guards were currently lying on the ground in the outer palace, trying to break free from the boundless pressure. TSK, Hong Ji, that's all you can do. Having an emperor like you is the sorrow of Hong Tian Empire. Since that's the case, then let me change the rule of Hong Tian Empire. I believe that under the leadership of the Emperor's equal mansion, Hong Tian Empire will be able to last longer and become more peaceful. Who knows, it might even be able to rule over the surrounding countries and expand its territory. After saying that, he walked towards Hong Ji step by step. According to Ouyang Zhang's instructions, I can only injure him and not kill him. Thus, what I said just now was just to provoke Hong Ji. I believe that after today, the Emperor of Hong Tian Empire will risk universal condemnation and make a move against Li Jiping of the Emperor's equal mansion. At that time, even if Li Jiping doesn't want to resist, he will have to do so for the sake of his family's lives. This is exactly what Lin Rui wants to see. At that time, Li Jiping will ask Lin Rui to help him unify the entire Hong Tian Empire. At that time, his mission will be completed, and he will be able to return to the sacred realm and find the ancient ruins to help the little dragon regain his soul energy and reforge his physical body. You don't come over. The Emperor is the master of Hong Tian Empire. Whatever you want, the Emperor can give it to you. Power, wealth, women. As long as it's something you want, the Emperor can give it to you. However, Fan Jun acted as if he didn't hear anything. He continued to walk leisurely towards Hong Ji. You don't like it? Then, the Emperor's daughter, Princess Chongqing. Chongqing is a beauty of the workers of Hong Tian. As long as you let the Emperor off, the Emperor will betroth Chongqing to you. At that time, you will be the prince consort of our Hong Tian Empire. You will be second only to the Emperor and above everyone else. You can have anything you want. How is it? This was the best thing he could give Fan Jun. He did not believe that Fan Jun would not like the three things that a man pursued throughout his life. Chongqing? Looking at Hong Ji, Zhangqing's face could not help but appear in his mind. Indeed, in the entire Hong Tian, Zhangqing was undoubtedly one of the top beauties. Moreover, she was proficient in the four arts. She was the woman in every man's heart. She was the lover of their dreams. Who would not like her? Fan Jun could not deny that he liked beautiful women. However, he had no say in this matter. Moreover, after being controlled, he had no interest in anything related to the target. The only thing he knew was to complete the mission. Hong Ji was not clear about Fan Jun's current situation. When he heard Fan Jun mention Chongqing's name, he thought that Fan Jun was moved. Hong Ji thought that his chance had come. Chongqing. That's right, it's Chongqing. She is the Emperor's daughter. As long as you let the Emperor off, the Emperor will arrange a wedding for you too. At that time, you'll be the Emperor's Ming Zheng. Nonsense. However, just as Hong Ji was getting excited, Fan Jun rebuked him angrily. His expression became even more ferocious. Hong Ji, you underestimate me too much. In my eyes, your daughter is indeed very beautiful. However, you must die today. As he spoke, Fan Jun naturally walked forward. Looking at the trembling Hong Ji, who was cowering in the corner, the disappointment in his eyes became more and more intense. It was hard for him to imagine how an emperor like this managed to sit on the throne step by step. Looking at Hong Ji, Disgust flashed across Fan Jun's eyes. He snorted coldly and said, "Remember, in your next life, be a child of an ordinary family. Otherwise," as he spoke, he raised his sword and aimed it at Hong Ji's neck. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hong Ji, who was cowering in the corner, felt the sword whistling towards him. At this moment, Hong Ji could almost see his head being chopped off by the sword and his blood spraying everywhere. No, the Emperor can't die like this. The Emperor's great years have just begun. How can he die at the hands of nobody today? No, the Emperor can't die. Just as Fan Jun's sword was about to chop off his head, Hong Ji's unyielding will surged up. He was unwilling to accept this. In the first half of his life, he had already lost too much for that throne. Now, he had just secured his position. How could he give up everything in front of him and return to the nine heavens? He was unwilling to accept this. "No, bastard, come here for the Emperor." Hong Ji didn't know where he got the strength from, but he held the sword in his hand and collided with the sword above his head. At the same time, as he raised his sword to defend himself, his body fled to the side. Although it was impossible for him to escape the injury caused by the sword, his life was saved. With a poochie sound, the sound of flesh being cut suddenly rang out in the palace. A flash of blood appeared. Hong Ji's body went limp to the side. In the end, he narrowly escaped the fatal blow from the sword. Even so, the sword still left an indelible scar on Hong Ji's left shoulder. Hong Ji let out a cry of pain. His entire body went limp in a sorry state. As for the pain from his shoulder, it was replaced by a cry of pain. His figure stumbled as he rushed out of the palace. Although his speed wasn't as fast as before, what made him puzzled was that Fan Jun's speed had also decreased. Consider yourself lucky this time. Looking at Hong Ji's fleeing figure, Fan Jun coldly snorted and thought of retreating. Now, the task that Ouyang Jin gave him had been completed. Hong Ji's screams would soon attract the embroidered uniform guards and the guards of the palace. So, it was useless to stay now. He stepped forward in the direction that Hong Ji had fled. The sword was still in his hand. Scarlet blood dripped down the blade and onto the ground. Outside the palace, Fan Jun's divine sense was constantly watching what was happening in the palace. When he saw Hong Ji's hand, he knew that the result he wanted had appeared. If he went down now, it would affect his future plans. All right, that's enough. In a while, I will release those suppressed people and finish the last act. Then, we can completely escape from people's sight. Inside the palace, Fan Jun heard Ouyang Zhen's voice transmission and nodded heavily. Understood, Master. Chapter 1278. Stepping out of the inner hall, they arrived at the outer hall. Just as Ouyang Zhen had said, the sect master of the profound sect, Wei Wuyang, who had been lying on the ground in a sorry state, was now standing up. As for Hong Ji, he had already arrived behind Wei Wuyang. With one hand covering the wound on his shoulder, he glared at Fan Jun, his eyes filled with killing intent. Kill him for the Emperor. As long as you kill him, the Emperor will give you whatever you want. 10,000 taels of gold, the title of Marquis, and even your sect will become a consecrated elder of the Hongtian Empire. As long as you kill this person in front of you, the Emperor will not be stingy with anything you want. As the saying goes, humans die for wealth and birds die for food. In front of benefits, all righteousness and morality were nonsense. Hearing Hong Ji's promise, Wei Wuyang was moved. Why was he accompanying the Emperor as a secret guard? Wasn't it because he didn't come here for the future of his sect? Now that the opportunity to make a name for himself was right in front of him, how could he not seize it? Thinking of this, he took a step forward and circulated the energy in his body. His right hand touched his waist. Suddenly, a shiny and cold sword was pulled out from his waist. The sword was aimed at Fan Jun with killing intent. It wasn't just to curry favor with Hong Ji, but more importantly, because of that mysterious pressure. Clearly, Wei Wuyang had blamed him for being suppressed by the pressure. However, at this moment, Fan Jun didn't know. All he knew was that his mission was complete, and he had to leave. As for Wei Wuyong, he wouldn't foolishly fight him alone. Looking at the high-spirited Wei Wuyong, Fan Jun smiled bitterly and shook his head. Looking at Hong Ji behind Wei Wuyong, his expression changed, and he sneered, "Just you wait. You won't be in that position for long. I believe that scene won't be too far away." You swish. Without waiting for Hong Ji to finish his words, Wei Wuyong turned and rushed out of the palace. After eating the soul-controlling pill, Fan Jun's physique had been improved imperceptibly. "You want to leave? Do you think I'm useless?" Seeing Fan Jun running away, Wei Wuyong was furious. Holding the software in his hand, he took a step forward and suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the main hall's door. "Go!" Outside the palace, the moment Fan Jun rushed out, Ouyang Jun took a step forward and grabbed Fan Jun with one hand. His other hand tore open the space and took Fan Jun into the spatial crack, disappearing from the palace. Brat, when Wei Wuyong stepped out of the main hall, his words came to an abrupt end. Before the new year, it was like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. A mighty gust of wind blew past, and the scene became extremely silent. How is that possible? Where is he? Wei Wuyong's mind was filled with doubts and questions. How fast would one have to be able to disappear the moment they stepped out of the door? How? How is it? Is there anyone? Hong Ji's voice resounded from within the palace. However, when Hong Ji walked out of the palace, his appearance was exactly the same as Wei Wuyong's. He blankly stared ahead, but there was no one there. F***CK, where is he? Hong Ji was infuriated. He was a person who only cared about the results and not the process. Now that Fan Jun had escaped, he naturally wanted to kill the rules. "Your Majesty, we lost him." On the contrary, in the palace, in a secret chamber in the depths of the Emperor's manor, a spatial crack appeared, and two figures rushed out from it. "You're finally back?" One of the two scanned the surroundings, and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. "Just stay here. As for what to say, it's up to you. However, I want you to remember that other people might not be able to control your life, but before the new year with the young master, then, plop." Fan Jun did not say anything else. He directly knelt on the ground and cowed out. "Master, please don't worry. I know what to do. All right, then I'll take my leave." As he spoke, he glanced at the secret chamber. Then, a spatial crack appeared, and Ouyang Jun stepped into it and disappeared. Now, only Fan Jun and Aunt Meng were left in the secret chamber. Aunt Meng was still unconscious, while Fan Jun stared blankly at the place where Ouyang Jun disappeared. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. If I had listened to the prince's advice back then, I'm afraid this wouldn't have happened. Thinking about what he had done wrong, he smiled bitterly and regretfully. Outside the Heavenly King City, on the mountain where Lin Rei was, Ouyang Jun had completed his mission and returned. However, when he arrived, there was not even a bird in the entire city. He knew that Lin Rei's cultivation had regressed. Although he had not encountered anything that could make him afraid in this world, there was always a possibility. No one could guarantee anything. Within the system, Linley was seated in the meditative position, quietly pondering some matters of the past. Suddenly, the system spoke. "Host, Ouyang Jun is back." "Oh, so fast." Lin Rei was surprised. He thought that he would be gone for a long time, but he did not expect him to be back so soon. Of course, being surprised was just being surprised. Thinking of Ouyang Jun, Lin Rei's lips curled up into a smile, and then disappeared from the system space in a flash. In the outside world, Ouyang Jun's face was filled with worry. His divine sense covered an area of 10,000 miles. However, at this moment, a hand reached out from behind him. "Damn." For a moment, Ouyang Jun was startled by the hand that suddenly stretched out and jumped to the side. However, when he saw the owner of the hand, Ouyang Jun smiled. He stood up and walked in front of Ouyang Jun, bowed and said, "Young master, are you trying to scare me to death?" Looking at Ouyang Jun, Lin Rei scratched his head awkwardly and said embarrassedly, "I forgot, I won't do it again." As he spoke, he went to a blue stone at the side and sat down. Looking at Ouyang Zhen, he asked, "This time, I asked you to go out and do something. Why did you come back so quickly? How'd it go?" Ouyang Zhen seemed to have already known what Lin Rei was going to ask. Without thinking, he directly opened his mouth and told him the place he went to this time and some things. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, more than 10 minutes had passed. After telling him what had happened, Lin Rei was dumbfounded. "What the hell are you doing? I asked you to kill the officials, but you two went straight to the palace." However, he had to admit that Ouyang Zhen's method was very effective. In this way, the conflict between the emperor and Li Zhiping had appeared so happily. As for him, he was quietly waiting for the day when Li Zhiping cried and begged him for help. "Young master, this subordinate does not understand. Why do you want to help a mortal? Although his family saved you, you could just give them something. Why do you have to work so hard? You don't need to know about this. You just need to know to obey my orders. Don't worry about anything else." Chapter 1279. I understand. Ouyang Zhen nodded and retreated to the side. He knew that this was not the right time to say anything more. "All right, you should cultivate properly during this period of time. Previously, I promised you that you would become a sage within half a year. I didn't expect this to happen. Of course, I naturally won't go back on my word. Even here, I can still help you become a saint. As for that, it will depend on your own efforts." Plop. Ouyang Zhen knelt on one knee and nodded heavily. "Thank you, young master. I will do my best to help you complete your task." "Haha, all right." Lin Rei waved his hand casually at such a distant promise. "Relax your body. I will bring you to a place." "Yes," Ouyang Zhen replied. His body relaxed completely. He did not resist at all. He had entered the system's space once. There, he felt that the space was abnormal. However, he could not pinpoint what was wrong. Looking at Ouyang Zhen, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. His divine sense wrapped around Ouyang Zhen. With a thought, the two of them disappeared. When they reappeared, they were already in the system's space. "All right." Lin Rei's voice rang in his ears. Ouyang Zhen slowly opened his eyes. What entered his eyes was the charming scenery of the past. There were mountains, rivers, and flowers in the world. That is, while Ouyang Zhen was carefully observing this space, a figure suddenly appeared on top of a mound not far in front of him, attracting his full attention. "Your disciple, Ouyang Ting. So, young master has arranged for her to cultivate here." Looking at Ouyang Ting, Ouyang Zhen heaved a sigh of relief. He was still worried before. Now that he saw Ouyang Ting's figure, he was relieved. The rules here are very simple. Time is not proportional to the space outside. 100 days, a year, or even 100 years here might only pass a day, a dozen days, or 100 days outside. It depends on one's taste. As for you, you should be able to increase the time ratio here to the highest. Cultivating here has spiritual energy, time, and medicinal pills. As long as you cultivate diligently, I believe it won't be long before you can break through the realm you have always dreamed of. Plop. Ouyang Zhen knelt down again. Comparing the time, he could imagine the benefits. As for alchemical pills, there was no need to even think about them. He knew that his young master was a saint-grade alchemist. "Young master, thank you very much. But if it wasn't for you, I would still be the head of the Ouyang family that dominates High City. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known that the world is so vast. It's you. It's you who opened my eyes. You won't let me be a frog at the bottom of the well. I will definitely." Seeing that Ouyang Zhen was about to speak again, Lin Rei covered his forehead and felt a headache coming on. He hurriedly waved his hand and interrupted. All right. "I say, Ouyang Zhen, can you not express your opinion every day? Although the will of the Tendo and the great Tao here is relatively weak, they still exist. You will easily attract their attention." After saying that, he rolled his eyes and continued, "Also, in the future, don't kneel and kneel whenever you have nothing to do. Perhaps this method of yours is very useful in front of others, but in front of me, I don't like this, understand?" I understood. Ouyang Zhen was helpless. Ever since he followed Lin Rei, he realized that his young master's way of doing things was very strange. Looking at it now, it was indeed so. He stood up and looked at his disciple from afar. His face revealed a gratified smile. Then, he looked at Lin Ray and bowed to him. Then, he turned around and walked towards a hill not far away from Ouyangting. Looking at Ouyangjin who left, Lin Ray shook his head helplessly and sighed. He didn't stay any longer and turned around to leave the system space. In the outside world, on top of the mountain peak, he slowly walked to the edge of the cliff and looked into the distance. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. I don't know when I will be able to go back. Little dragon, hold on a little longer. When the time comes, I will do everything I can to help you get that thing in your hands and let you transcend that spiritual state. After a long time, Lin Ray looked into the distance. Finally, without knowing how much time had passed, a trace of sunset appeared on the horizon. At this moment, Lin Ray finally regained his senses. It's time to go take a look. I wonder if that Hong Ji has made a move against the Emperor. As he thought about it, he walked towards the empty sky in front of him. Ta-ta-ta, if there were others present and saw him walking in the air, they would definitely be scared out of their wits. Heavenly King City, in front of the city gate. It was not much different from when he first arrived. Of course, the only thing that was different was a wanted poster. Standing in front of the city gate and looking at the wanted poster, Lin Ray's face was filled with shock. This wanted poster was none other than Fan Jun, who had entered the palace to assassinate him. However, this was different from what Lin Ray had expected. In his opinion, Hong Ji should have used all of his forces to surround and kill Li Jiping. Or, he should have used all of his methods to frame Li Jiping and kill him. But now? What was the situation now? Why was there only Fan Jun's wanted poster? Moreover, it stated that Fan Jun had entered the palace to assassinate him and had the intention to rebel. There was no mention of Li Jiping being his accomplice at all. Holy shit, what's going on? Even if Li Jiping is the Emperor of Hong Tian, he shouldn't be able to cause you, the Emperor, to be so afraid. He has already entered the palace to assassinate you, yet you're still not making a move. I'm only giving him a small punishment. Furthermore, he's such an unimportant person. The more Lin Ray thought about it, the angrier he became. He had originally thought that this matter would soon come to an end. However, it would appear that it would take an extremely long time for this matter to be completed. Perhaps it would really be as the system had stipulated, and it would take 100 years to complete. Thinking about it, Lin Ray held his forehead with his hand. He had a headache. Suddenly, a male voice sounded from the side and entered Lin Ray's ears. Hey, brother, did it say that there's a reward for reporting? Turning his head to look, he saw a young man in his 20s looking at him with bright and spirited eyes. That's right, there's a reward for reporting. Lin Ray nodded his head in response. At this moment, looking at the young man, his eyes suddenly lit up and he said, Young man, I see that you're quite an honest person. How about this? I'll tell you something. However, you have to promise that this matter is only known to you. Is that all right? The young man looked at Lin Ray with a strange gaze, as if he was thinking that this person was crazy. Holy shit! The young man's gaze made Lin Ray very angry. However, when he thought of his plan, he suppressed the nameless anger in his heart. A smile flashed across his face as he gritted his teeth and said, Previously, I saw the person on this wanted poster at the back door of the Emperor's palace. TSK, 10,000 gold taels. How much money is that? With this amount, I'll have to buy a lot of buns and eat a lot of good food. Who knows, I might even be able to get a wife and buy a house. After that, I won't have to live a hard life anymore. After saying that, Lin Ray didn't wait for the young man to regain his senses. After he finished speaking, he walked towards the capital. From the young man's appearance, one could tell that he wasn't living a good life. His clothes were tattered, and the moment he opened his mouth, he said that there would be a reward for reporting him. Therefore, Lin Ray was certain that he would definitely go to the Emperor's palace for the 10,000 gold taels and report him. And this was exactly what he, Lin Ray, wanted to see. Thinking about the subsequent developments, the smile on his face couldn't help but become even wider. Lin Ray, who hadn't strolled the streets for a long time, suddenly became interested and slowly walked on the streets of the heavenly king city. It was already evening, and every household had lit up their lanterns. The lanterns on the streets were always lit, illuminating the huge city and filling it with color. On the streets, pedestrians came and went. Not only was it not sparse with the arrival of night, but there were more and more people. In the surroundings, there were more and more stalls selling snacks, even more than during the day. Lil Six, have you heard? There's a place in the city where human traffickers buy and sell. I heard that a lot of good goods came in today. How about it? Do you want to go and take a look? This isn't not good. The Hongtian Empire has clearly stated that if they discover human traffickers, they will kill without mercy. If we're discovered like this, I'm afraid. The young man who was addressed as Lil Six had a difficult expression. Seeing this scene, the companion beside him was speechless for a moment. Then, he opened his mouth to persuade him. I say, Lil Six, you're not young anymore. Your parents died early, and their greatest wish was for you to have a wife. Look at it now. Just treat it as fulfilling the wishes of your parents. Let's go take a look. If we really like her, we'll buy her. If we don't, we'll leave. How about it? At the side, Lin Ray, who heard the conversation between the two, became interested, especially when he saw Lil Six, who was hesitating. He knew very well that the person who spoke was obviously tempting him. It was just that Lil Six didn't know about it. After pondering for a long time, Lil Six finally made a decision. He looked at the man and said, Brother Gong, I'll listen to you. All right, let's go then. Seeing that Lil Six agreed, Brother Gong became excited. He pulled Lil Six and walked away. However, the two of them didn't realize that when they were leaving, the young man behind them followed them. Human trafficking, to put it bluntly, is no different from the slave market in the Holy World. The only difference is that one is recognized by the authorities and the other is not. As he spoke, he leisurely walked behind the two of them. They walked all the way from the north to the south of the city. Lil Six and Brother Gong, who were at the front, were so tired that they left. Even Brother Gong, who was encouraging Lil Six, was exhausted. Behind them, Lin Ray, who was following behind them, looked at the two people who were sitting on the ground without a trace of redness on his face. A bitter smile appeared on his face. These two youngsters are too useless. We only walked for a short while, and they're already exhausted. Shaking his head, he released his divine sense. Now that they were here, Lin Ray guessed that the human trafficking market wasn't far away. As expected, through his divine sense, he saw that not far away from Lil Six and Brother Gong, there was a luxurious mansion that was brightly lit. It wasn't a sea of people, but it was close. There were 200 to 300 people sitting in the courtyard, chatting and laughing as if they were waiting for something. Looking at this scene, Lin Ray sneered. It seems that no matter where I go, the law of the jungle will never change. After saying that, he started walking towards the luxurious mansion. As for Lil Six and Brother Gong, they naturally saw Lin Ray walking out from the shadows. When they saw Lin Ray, they were stunned and vigilant. What they were doing was something that could cost them their lives. Now that a person suddenly appeared, how could they not be nervous? When he walked past the two of them, he sneered and brushed past them, walking towards the luxurious mansion in the distance. You scared me to death. Linley's disregard caused the two of them to relax, and they felt more at ease. In front of the luxurious mansion, there were two people who had had enough. When they saw someone approaching, they raised their sabers and said coldly, "Stop right there." Oh! After standing still and looking at the two of them, Lin Ray was stunned. He cupped his fists and replied, "I wonder if this is the place where you do that? Recently, this humble one has been lacking servants, so..." After saying that, a bag of money appeared in his hand. He stepped forward and placed the bag of money in one of the hands. "Please make an exception. After this matter is done, this humble one will thank you greatly." When they looked at the bag of money in their hands, they were originally ferocious. In the next moment, they quickly cupped their fists and let him pass. "Young master, please." "Thank you." After cupping his fists at the two of them, he walked in. As the saying goes, there's a universe inside. If you don't enter, you won't know that it is very lively inside. Cultivation, silence. All of a sudden, a voice rang out. Instantly, the originally noisy cauldron of voices fell silent. Everyone's gaze gathered in the direction of the voice. In the distance, a person was standing on the stage. This person had a smile on his face. The pot-bellied man gave people a feeling that he was asking for a beating. Everyone here knows what this place is for. Since that is the case, I will not waste everyone's time. After saying that, 2 attendants brought 4 women in tattered clothes from a backstage. The moment they stepped on the stage, the 4 women were forced to kneel in front of hundreds of people. These 4 women are from other empires. Their beauty can be considered average. 1,000 taels each. In an instant, the crowd below could not remain calm. No one who came here was poor. Looking at the 4 women on the stage, Lin Ray frowned but did not do anything. He had seen this kind of thing many times and was used to it. He had seen tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of slaves. Compared to this, those were huge trafficking organizations. This was just a small matter. 1,000 taels, I want one. I want one too. Me too. Suddenly, the 4 women were bought in an instant. In this regard, the man on the stage smiled even more. Looking at this scene, Lin Ray did not move. He immediately released his divine sense, and the entire mansion fell into Lin Ray's mind. In the backstage, among the hundreds of women, Lin Ray scanned with his divine sense. In the end, his gaze fell on a woman with a veil on her face. This woman has spiritual energy fluctuations on her body. Could it be that she is a cultivator of this world? After coming to the empty underworld region, he hoped to see cultivators the most. But now he did not expect to see one in a place where human traffickers do business. Chapter 1280. Does this count as a free combination of factors? He couldn't help but laugh bitterly. He turned around and went to a corner and sat down on a rock. However, his divine sense never left the woman who had spiritual energy fluctuations. Looking at the woman who was looking around as if she was observing her surroundings, Lin Ray's interest was piqued. He wasn't stupid enough to think that a cultivator would be caught by a mortal and sold as a commodity by a human trafficker. The auction on the stage continued. The previous auctions were all for a fixed price. Those who were interested would bid. Of course, those who were priced were those who were judged by the human traffickers to be ugly or those who didn't have the slightest advantage in terms of price. The later auctions were all genuine beauties. In the end, each of them could be sold for more than 10,000 taels of gold. There was even a woman who was bought for 10,000 taels of gold. Looking at the madness of these people, Lin Ray was speechless. In this world, it was a problem for the commoners to even eat. However, these people were willing to spend 10,000 taels of gold for a woman. Backstage, the woman who was being stared at by Lin Ray saw that there were fewer and fewer women being sold. Just as it was about to be her turn, her originally chaotic eyes suddenly lit up. Washing away the fear and decadence from before, she slowly moved back. When the woman retreated, 6 or 7 people, both men and women, wearing the same clothes, climbed over the wall and entered the mansion. After all, senior sister Zhong Li should be fine, right? A little girl looked at the man beside her and asked worriedly. Everyone stopped in their tracks. The man who was being questioned also stopped. He looked at the little girl and sneered. Xiao Miao, you're underestimating your senior sister, Zhong Li, too much. You have to understand that Zhong Li is a top-notch existence in the sect. Her cultivation has already reached the nebula realm. What can the ordinary people here do to her? However, I am afraid that if we are to fight in a while, that girl Zhong Li will, because of her righteousness, act and punish all of the people here who participated. Xiao Miao was dumbfounded when she heard that. She hurriedly said, that won't do. Senior brother Wang won. That won't do. You have to stop senior sister Zhong Li. The sect's mission is to not use one's cultivation in the secular world. If the people from the law enforcement hall were to find out about this, senior Zhong Li's ending might very well be the same as Marshal Uncle Wang Hao's. I don't want to. You have to think of something. The little girl panicked. Tears welled up in her eyes uncontrollably. She looked as if she would cry if he didn't agree. Seeing Xiao Miao like this, the surrounding senior brothers and senior sisters, led by Wang Wen, all felt their hair stand on end. In the sect, they weren't afraid of being punished by their masters, nor were they afraid of cultivating. However, what they were most afraid of was this little junior sister's tears. Because of this, the little girl's reputation was well known in the sect. Generally, no one dared to provoke this little girl. Of course, the most important reason was that this little girl's father was the sect's great elder, Miao Xiong. Therefore, Xiao Miao was a little princess in the sect. Okay. Junior sister, don't cry. If they find out, I'll be in trouble. Wang Wen hurriedly took out a handkerchief and handed it over. Yes, I know that you dote on me the most. Seeing that Wang Wen had agreed, the tears in Xiao Miao's eyes instantly disappeared and were replaced by a smile. Wang Wen and the others were already used to this scene. They didn't find it strange. All right, let's get down to business. The surrounding empires have issued missions saying that some clan members have disappeared within their borders. If we can eliminate this group of human traffickers, we'll have enough points to exchange for martial arts techniques and combat techniques from the Hidden Skills Pavilion. Yes, that's right. Everyone nodded in agreement with Wang Wen's words. However, among the 7 of them, only Xiao Miao didn't care about the battle techniques and martial techniques that Wang Wen had mentioned. In her opinion, these things were easily obtainable. However, they didn't know that as they spoke, everything about them appeared in Lin Rei's mind without reservation. After seeing the images that had appeared, he could confirm that there were indeed cultivators in this world. However, most of these cultivators were hidden deep in the mountains and forests. Furthermore, their cultivation levels didn't seem very high, just like Zhongli. Zhongli's cultivation level was ranked in the Star Cloud realm in this world. However, in the cultivation world, this Star Cloud realm was only at the Anidia realm. This shouldn't be a low-level civilization. The spiritual energy here alone is enough to nurture many powerful cultivators. As he thought about this, Linley continued to observe. He wanted to see how this farce would turn out. Of course, if there was a need, he didn't mind lending a hand. Who knew? It might be even more fun when the time came. The girl called Zhong Li had already retreated to the back of the crowd. She was close to the corner of the wall. The rope that bound her hands had unknowingly been broken. Senior brother Wang Wen, I have already investigated the matter. This is the place where the disciples of the various clans are kept. They want to bring those people here and brand them with the word slave. They want to sell them to the rich and powerful families of the Hongtian Empire as slaves, or even sell them to the brothels as prostitutes. In the backyard, after receiving Zhong Li's voice transmission, they were stunned and their expressions were extremely ugly. In their eyes, although they didn't like the people of the secular world, they had no choice but to come because of their mission. Of course, when they heard Zhong Li's explanation of the situation, they didn't know why, but they felt an inexplicable rage in their hearts. Junior sister Zhong Li, since we are here, we have to use our own abilities to free these girls from this sea of suffering and send them away. At this point, his tone was a little low. However, they have already been branded with the word slave. I'm afraid that they will live in pain for the rest of their lives. Bastard, he couldn't help but let out a low roar. His expression turned even darker. At this moment, he couldn't wait to rush out and use his cultivation to kill all the participants here to uphold justice. All right, everyone deal with it as you see fit. Remember, try your best to protect the safety of these girls. Don't disregard their lives. As cultivators, we must set an example and not kill the lives of the secular world. Remember, we are here to complete our mission. If I find out that any of you dare to violate the mission of the sect, don't blame me for being merciless. I will personally send you to the Hall of Punishments for your trial. The moment these words were spoken, the 7 people in the backyard lowered their heads. Even the most lively Xiao Miao fell silent after hearing these words. Chapter 1281. Not bad. I didn't expect this little girl to have such prestige among these people. Linley was becoming more and more interested in Zhongli. Although he couldn't see her face clearly, from the shape of her face, she was definitely very beautiful. At least, as far as he knew, she was worthy of the word beautiful. Through his divine sense, Linley was able to lock onto the locations of these 8 people. The auction on the stage was still going on. Linley had already lost interest in continuing to watch. Right now, the only thing he was interested in was when this lady named Zhong Li would make her move. So long-winded. 8 cultivators, so long-winded. Really? Helplessly, he shook his head and looked at the pot-bellied man on the stage with a strange smile on his face. Little guy, there are 7 people in the backyard. They're the inner guards of the Imperial Palace. This time, they are here to capture you. Among the people backstage, the best one is in the back corner. That girl is the same as the people in the backyard. At this moment, the rope that tied her has been broken. If you don't believe me, you can go and check it out. Lin Ray's voice sounded. Suddenly, the man who was in the middle of the auction was stunned. His face turned serious as he glanced around. However, when he saw that everyone was silent in the auction, he frowned. The man had seen the world. He didn't make a fuss about the sudden appearance of the voice. The first thing he thought about was whether what the voice said was true or not. As he thought about it, he turned his head and waved at his subordinate. That subordinate came to the man's side and bowed. Go! Someone broke into the backyard. Among the group of people backstage, the one at the back corner has been broken. She is also in the group of people in the backyard. Remember, their martial arts are especially good. Bring more people with you. Remember, this is an important river. Even if I don't say it, you know what it means. Go, do this well. I will give each of you 100 taels and let you feel comfortable. As soon as the words came out, the subordinate's eyes lit up and he nodded heavily. Understood, I will go now. As he spoke, the man returned to his previous state of being auctioned. As for the subordinate that was arranged, he walked down without batting an eyelid. Then he gathered many big hands and divided them into 2 groups. One group had 16 people, and they walked toward the backyard. The other group had 4 people, and they walked towards Zhongli. Wang Wen and the others in the backyard didn't know what was going on. While they were waiting for an opportunity to make a move, Lin Ray stabbed them in the back without hesitation. As for Zhongli, he was waiting for an opportunity. He was waiting for everyone to relax. He was waiting for her to save everyone around her before he dealt with the people who organized the auction. The man brought his companions to the front of the women who were waiting to be auctioned off. His gaze swept over them. When a man's gaze landed on Zhong Li's surroundings, he frowned in surprise. Then, he waved his hand, and the 4 of them walked toward Zhong Li. I don't think they're here for me. Looking at the 4 people walking over, Zhong Li still felt lucky. In her opinion, this group of people should not be able to discover her. However, reality wasn't as she thought. Often, things didn't go as planned. What she didn't want to happen happened. In the end, when the 4 people arrived in front of Zhong Li finally realized that they were really here for her. So it's you. Seeing that the rope in Zhong Li's hand had disappeared, the man's expression darkened. Similarly, the backyard was not much different from this place. When the 16 people arrived at the backyard, they saw that the backyard was slowly moving in their direction. Bunch of trash. Thank you so much for this time. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been rewarded with money. As he spoke, he unsheathed his long sword. While the 7 people were still in a daze, the 16 people rushed towards the 7 people uniformly. The front yard was not much different from the backyard. It was for no other reason than to kill. Mayflies dare to shake the heavens. Seeing the 4 people rushing towards her, a murderous intent flashed in Zhong Li's eyes. She raised her hand. Without using any weapon, she stood up and looked at the 4 people rushing towards her. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. I originally planned to let you play for a while. Since you came first, then let's start. As she spoke, she tried to lock her gaze on the 4 people in front of her. She released her spiritual sense and almost instantly communicated with Wang, one in the backyard. She said, "Do it. I've been discovered here." "Yes, I already know that. I've already started fighting here. However, I'm very curious. We hid so well. How did they discover us? Moreover, from the looks of it, they seem to have known that they were here long ago. This made them very unhappy. Hearing Wang Wen's words, Zhongli was stunned. Her figure flashed quickly, and her hand instantly chopped down from above. As a cultivator, as long as she used her cultivation, this group of people would be dealt with in minutes. However, because of the Sect's motto, she couldn't kill people. She could only knock them out. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. The man who was rushing at the front went limp and fell to the ground. Good. The women squatted on the ground in a daze. They originally thought that there was no hope, but when they saw this scene, their originally disappointed eyes burned with hope again. Regarding Zhongli's actions, I applauded, cheered, and whistled. There are all sorts of reactions. How is this possible? How can this person's martial arts be so powerful? Seeing Zhongli's speed and strength, the remaining 3 people were dumbfounded. If this person was so powerful, then how was she captured before? With her personality, how could I have stayed here for so long? Thinking of this, anger rose. She ignored them and charged at Zhongli once more. This time, she was serious. However, in Zhongli's eyes, no matter how serious they were, it was useless. Bang, bang, bang. With 3 muffled thuds, the 3 men who were charging forward fell to the ground. After rolling 2 times, they lay paralyzed on the ground, no longer moving. What happened next was a piece of cake for the 7 cultivators. Although they had the advantage in numbers in front of cultivators, this advantage could only become a disadvantage. In the backyard, 16 men were lying on the ground. Some had already fainted, while others were holding their arms or hands in pain. Not a single one of them dared to get up. That scene would likely leave a shadow in their hearts for the rest of their lives. Hey, not bad. I didn't expect these little fellows to have some skill. In the front yard, Lin Ray, who had been paying attention to them, smiled. Of course, it was especially so when she saw Zhongli. Although the battle prowess he displayed was nothing in his eyes, she should be considered to be at the top among her peers. This nether void realm isn't as boring as I thought. Chapter 1282. Looking at the 4 people lying on the ground, Zhongli's eyes flashed with disdain. Then he looked at the rest of the people, and the disdain in his eyes was replaced by sympathy. In a while, go to the backyard. There will be people there to receive you. After you leave, find the army or go to the Emperor's equals mansion. As long as you go there, I believe Li Jiping will not stand by and do nothing. At that time, with Li Jiping's help, you will be able to return to your homes. As for the brand on your body, at this point, Zhongli's expression darkened. To be honest, he really had no way to deal with the brand. Unless he cut off the flesh where the brand was otherwise, it's fine. This brand is nothing. As long as it can get us out of this devil's den, we can go anywhere. That's right. We don't want to stay here any longer. Instead of being treated as goods to be bought and sold, it's better to go home or live a peaceful life in a deserted place. That's right. We don't want to stay here any longer. Sob, sob. After one person stood out to express their feelings, the rest of the people couldn't help but follow suit. The rest of the people who didn't say anything couldn't hold it in anymore and started crying. That scene was truly tragic. Those who heard it would be sad, and those who saw would cry. Looking at the crying people, Zhongli didn't expect that under their appearances there would be such fragile hearts. Seeing the girls crying, he hated these human traffickers even more. He didn't hide his killing intent, and it instantly burst out of his body. All right, those who untie the ropes, go to the backyard. I've already made arrangements there. With that, a long sword appeared in Zhongli's hand. Holding the long sword, he walked in front of the girl and swung the sword. After cutting the rope that tied the girl up, the girl bowed to Zhongli and thanked him. Then, without any hesitation, she ran to the backyard. When the rest of the people saw the girl leaving, they all rushed to Zhongli with longing in their eyes. They stretched out their hands and waited to be rescued. Tendo is unfair. He looked at the departing woman, then at the mortal world disciples. Sighing, he didn't linger. One by one, he rescued them and ran toward the rear courtyard. Their speed was extremely fast. These people seemed to have used up all their strength. None of them were willing to fall behind. It was as if they were afraid that if they fell behind, they would be caught again. Through his spiritual sense, he looked at the group of people fleeing. He smiled bitterly. Thinking about it, some of these people were young ladies of rich families, and some were even young ladies of high officials. None of them had suffered so much. Of course, after this unforgettable experience, their lives in the future would be even better. With this unforgettable experience, they would no longer have princess syndrome like before. They would be able to treat others calmly and as equals. In the rear courtyard, when Zhongli released the first person, he had sent a voice transmission to Wang Wen. Thus, the 7 of them were currently waiting in the rear courtyard, waiting for the arrival of the others. Looking at their actions, Lin Rei smiled bitterly and shook his head. He communicated with Ouyang Zhen, who was cultivating in the system. Originally, he wanted him to work hard during this period of time to break through to the Sage realm. Now, it seemed that without him as a subordinate, many things would be inconvenient. In the system, Lin Rei's voice rang in Ouyang Zhen's ears. Ouyang Zhen, stop cultivating first. We still need you during this period of time. Young master, hearing Lin Rei's voice, Ouyang Zhen stopped cultivating. When he opened his eyes, a bright light flashed in them. He got up and looked at his disciple, Ouyang Ting, in the distance. Then, he disappeared from the system. In the outside world, Ouyang Zhen appeared in front of Lin Rei. He was about to bow to Lin Rei, but he was stopped by Lin Rei just as he moved. That's enough. There's so many people at this time. You are very eye-catching. As he spoke, he swept his gaze across the crowd before taking a deep breath and recounting the events that had just transpired in detail. When he heard that there were cultivators in the empty underworld region, Ouyang Zhen's eyes widened. His divine consciousness rushed out, and Zhong Li and the others naturally appeared in Ouyang Zhen's divine consciousness. It's true. Now that I have found them, I can't let them go so easily. At this moment, when he heard this, Ouyang Zhen prayed for them in his heart. From what he knew, as long as he was targeted by his young master, nothing good would come out of it. So, good luck to them. Of course, Lin Rei didn't know what Ouyang Zhen was thinking. If he did, he would have done a series of combo attacks. Young master, please give your orders. Ouyang Zhen cupped his hands. Actually, it's nothing much. After those girls are rescued, bring them to the emperor's palace. You don't have to care about where they are. After that, recalling what he said to someone in front of the city gate, the corners of his mouth curled up. He smiled and continued. Find Fan Jun and let him walk around the back door of the emperor's palace. After that, you can come back. Ouyang Zhen, that's it? Yes. Lin Rei nodded disapprovingly. Looking at his young master's serious expression, Ouyang Zhen was speechless. After all, he was a sage-to-be. Even if he didn't want him to fight, he couldn't let him know that a sage-to-be was leading a group of mortals. After all, he was the clan leader of a big family. In the past, as the saying goes, when a tiger falls to the plains, it will be bullied by dogs. Looking at his young master's serious expression, he knew that this matter was going to happen. In the end, under Lin Rei's tyranny, Ouyang Zhen could only reluctantly nod his head and agree. Young master, don't worry. This subordinate will handle this matter beautifully. You can go now. With that, he waved his hand and let Ouyang Zhen leave. However, he sneered in his heart. How could you handle this matter so beautifully? This is such a small matter. If you can't handle it well, what use do I have for you? Of course, Ouyang Zhen didn't know about this matter. At this moment, Ouyang Zhen was outside the mansion in a flash, outside the wall where the group of women had left. In the backyard, Wang Wen, who was waiting for everyone, saw the first woman who appeared. He quickly went forward and told her about Zhong Li's matter. The woman believed him and was immediately sent out by Wang Wen. At this moment, Ouyang Zhen, who was waiting outside the wall, saw the person who appeared. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the woman in an instant. Without waiting for her to speak, he spoke first. You don't need to speak. You just need to know that I am here to bring you to the Emperor's mansion. The woman was very obedient. She didn't speak and obediently stood behind Ouyang Zhen. After experiencing this matter, she understood a lot and saw a lot of people's faces. For some reason, she felt a sense of security towards Ouyang Zhen. A woman's sixth sense was very strong. Therefore, she chose to believe him. Although they didn't know each other, she believed him. After that, more and more women appeared. Like the first woman, they didn't speak to Ouyang Zhen. 10 minutes later, no one appeared. Ouyang Zhen looked at the group of women in front of him and waved his hand with a depressed expression. He said coldly, "Be quiet for a while. When we reach the Emperor's palace, you can just say that you came here on your own. As for my existence, you must not mention a word about it. Do you understand?" Understood. Although they didn't know why, they didn't dare to go against Ouyang Zhen's words. On the other side of the wall, Wang Wen naturally had a spiritual sense. However, this level of spiritual sense was useful against some low-level cultivators. Against someone of Ouyang Zhen's level, it was like an egg hitting a rock. In Wang Wen's spiritual sense, he could only see a group of women. As for Ouyang Zhen's existence, he couldn't sense it. He also didn't know that such a person existed. Seeing that no one else appeared, Wang Wen decisively left. As for the group of women, he didn't pay any attention to them. He turned around and walked toward the front yard. Now that these people had left, it was time for them to make a move. Thinking about it made them excited. In their eyes, these people weren't people, but their points, martial skills, and battle techniques. "Let's go. I'll take you away." After saying that, he didn't care whether the people behind him followed or not. He just walked on his own. In the mansion, Ouyang Zhen and Wang Wen's actions had been observed. After their matter was over, Lin Rui stopped monitoring them. His spiritual sense directly locked onto the 8 cultivators. In his opinion, the hindrance had been dealt with. Next, it was time for them to get to the main topic. What followed next was the most interesting part. Interesting. I wonder how they will deal with it. Will they kill them directly, or, looking at the people who were in the middle of filming, Lin Rui wanted to see if they would be like this in the future. "Little tiger, isn't it time for you to come out and have some fun?" Oh, a bestial roar sounded from Lin Rui's body. Then, a tender voice sounded in Lin Rui's mind. "Brother Lei, you still know that I'm here?" Lin Rui was speechless. He felt a little guilty about the red flame tiger. Except for when he needed it. Otherwise, after thinking about it, he smiled bitterly and said, "Okay, I'll make it up to you in the future. Come out and have some fun. However, I have to seal a part of your strength. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the people here will be killed by your pressure." The red flame tiger was dumbfounded. It thought that it could go out and have fun. It didn't expect that it would have to suppress its cultivation after going out. For a moment, it began to consider whether it should go out or not. "Hey, don't say that. Just come out when I ask you to. I promise that after this time, I won't put you away. You can always be outside." Okay. This time, the Scarlet Flame Tiger was overjoyed. Without any hesitation, it immediately agreed. "Okay, can you come out now?" Lin Rui rolled his eyes and said, Of course." After saying that, the 10,000 feet tall red flame tiger in the alternate space quickly shrank. Its cultivation went from its original high to the Mayana realm before it stopped. Whoosh! A red ray of light appeared and landed perfectly in Lin Rui's arms. "Damn you!" Looking at Little Tiger in his arms, Lin Rui smiled bitterly and shook his head. However, he didn't blame Little Tiger. Instead, he went straight to the point. Looking into the distance, he said, "In a while, there will be a few people. When I tell you to go, you go. Just give them a little bit of cholera. Remember, it's only cholera. You can't kill people. You bastard, you can kill them with a single slap. This is not what I want, do you understand?" Linley patiently advised Little Tiger, not for any other reason than to warn Little Tiger not to act recklessly and to restrain his strength. In his opinion, a sneeze from the red flame tiger could kill the people here. Even the cultivators from the empty nether territory who had achieved in Nidia wouldn't have a place to stay. After all, the difference in their cultivation was too big. So, Sai. Little tiger raised its furry head and looked at its master helplessly. Then it nodded weakly. Okay, Brother Lei, I know what you mean. Don't worry. How can I have the courage to kill them? However, Brother Lei, suddenly, the scarlet flame tiger became stern. He said, this place is extremely strange. Whether it's the immortal's world, the god world, or the saint's world, I've never heard of a place like this. There's a lot of spiritual energy here. It's different from the three realms. Have you noticed? There's something special in the spiritual energy here. It can increase our power of laws. Looking at Little Tiger's serious face, Lin Ray smiled and nodded. I knew it. Although this place is strange, it's not the place we're staying. We must go back to the holy world. This place is just a stop in our lives. Pa! A slap landed on Little Tiger's head. The serious scene was instantly pulled back. What are you thinking about every day in that little head of yours? That's not for you to think about. You just need to know that no matter where we go, we'll always be together. With me around, no one can hurt you. You hit me again. Although Little Tiger was angry because of Lin Ray's slap, it felt warm inside. It had always trusted Lin Ray's words. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to stay by his side all the time. At this moment, backstage, Wang Wen and the rest had already met up with Zhongli. Among them, Xiao Miao saw Zhongli and immediately pounced on him. Senior sister, Miao Miao missed you so much. You don't know. When you weren't around, senior brother bullied me every day. And father, that big baddie. For a moment, Xiao Miao couldn't stop talking. When the others heard this, they all lowered their heads in embarrassment. Only Zhongli looked at Xiao Miao with a doting expression. That's enough, little girl. Don't think I don't know you. You're a little devil. You're the only one who can mess with others. Who would dare to touch you? As he spoke, he was stunned. We're doing a mission now. Let's not mess around. We'll talk about it later. All right. Yes. Little junior sister. Let's get to work first. Yes, little junior sister. For a moment, everyone attacked. In the end, Xiao Miao pouted and looked at Zhongli with an aggrieved expression. She nodded. I'll do as you say. Chapter 1283. Seeing that their junior sister had agreed to stop her nonsense, everyone heaved a sigh of relief as though they had been pardoned. Everyone's gaze fell on Zhongli. Even though Wang Wen was the most senior in the group and was also the senior brother of the sect, Zhongli was the backbone of the group. Everyone looked at Zhongli as though they were waiting for him to give the order. Looking at the gazes of his seniors, Zhongli was taken aback for a moment. Then, he understood what was going on and shook his head bitterly. Turning around, he looked at the front desk and released his killing intent. Suddenly, the temperature in the surroundings plummeted. He said coldly, "Kill this group of people. If we don't kill them, they will continue to run amok in the future. By then, there will be more women who will be captured and sold off like slaves." Then, hearing those words, worry flashed across Wang Wen's eyes. What about those people who came here to do business? They are only here to do business. Even though our sect doesn't have much control over the secular world, we don't have the authority to kill them. If we kill these people as well, when we return to the sect leader and elders will. At this point, Wang Wen didn't continue. He believed that even if he didn't say it, everyone would understand what he meant. There was only to think about Zhongli. In his opinion, Zhongli was very smart. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the top disciple in the sect. As expected, the moment he said those words, everyone looked at Zhongli worriedly. They were afraid that Zhongli would act rashly and kill those people. There were hundreds of them. It wasn't something that a few dozen people could compare to. Sigh. Understanding the thoughts of Wang Wen and the others, Zhongli sighed and nodded his head. Don't worry, I won't touch them. However, Gedong. Hearing those words, everyone's heart skipped a beat and they refocused their gazes. Even though I won't kill them, I still have to teach them a painful lesson. Especially the people of Hantian Empire. I want them to know that those who kill will be killed, and those who humiliate will be humiliated. That's good. As long as you don't kill them, we will support you no matter what you do. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, they were still wary of Zhongli. After all, when a person is angry, he won't care about what he said previously. Done. Zhongli interrupted the wild thoughts of Wang Wen and the others. When he saw that the auction was still going on joyfully at the front desk, the scum who did not know that danger had already arrived, a cruel smile appeared on his face. Let's do it. Today, I will let the entire heavenly King Hong know that if they don't care, I will. After saying that, without waiting for the crowd to come back to their senses, he walked out and walked toward the front desk step by step. After Zhongli left, everyone couldn't help but start to regret. If they knew that this would be the outcome, they wouldn't have allowed her to come with them. Looking at Zhongli's back, Wang Wen shook his head and smiled bitterly. Forget it. Why go back this time? I'll have to face the wall and reflect on my mistakes. All right. Everyone sighed at the same time and nodded, as if they could already see the scene of them facing the wall and reflecting on their mistakes. Let's go. Wang Wen led the crowd and followed Zhongli's footsteps towards the stage. At that moment, Lin Rui also started to move. Looking in the direction of Zhongli and the others, Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and patted the scarlet flame tiger's head. He smiled and said, "Little tiger, it's time for you to perform. Remember, you can only create chaos. You must not." Understood, Brother Lei. Without waiting for Lin Rui to finish his words, the scarlet flame tiger interrupted him and continued. Just now, you've already said it no less than 6 or 7 times. I understand. Don't fight. Who is it? Don't worry. After saying that, the scarlet flame tiger leaped and disappeared from Lin Rui's embrace. When it reappeared, it was at an inconspicuous corner of the stage, waiting for Zhongli and the others to arrive. Standing in the arena, the scarlet flame tiger's gaze swept across the excited crowd. A bloodthirsty smile appeared on its face. It laughed and said, "As a demonic beast, how can I not kill? Moreover, these people are so despicable. No matter what, I have to teach them a lesson." With that, it sat down and waited for Zhongli and the others to move. 50,000 taels of gold. This woman, I want her. The business was still going on. No one knew that they had already become Zhongli's meal. Danger was getting closer and closer to them. Behind the stage, Zhongli's spiritual sense didn't leave the fat man on the stage. Looking at him, his killing intent became even more intense. "Humph, damn fat pig, your time has come." After saying that, he didn't care about Wang Wen and the others behind him. He stepped onto the stage and appeared at the edge of the stage. That's... Oh my God, so beautiful. Indeed, how much does it cost to buy a person? I'll buy it. Is 100,000 taels enough? Hey, old Six, it's the two of us. You have a nerve to take it out. This is too embarrassing. I'll pay 150,000 taels. The crowd was in an uproar. The man on the stage was stunned. Although he didn't understand why the crowd was reacting like this, he followed the crowd's gaze and turned to look. You? How did you get up here? He looked at Zhongli. He recognized this woman. She had suddenly appeared. Back then, he had seen how beautiful she was and wanted to keep her for himself. However, when he thought of the shining silver and gold, he could not resist the temptation of the word profit. Looking at this woman, he saw that she didn't have any ropes around her hands. Moreover, there were no subordinates around her. For a moment, the man felt that something was wrong, especially when he felt the murderous intent from Zhongli's body. As a person who often licked blood from the edge of a knife, how could he not feel it? Buying and selling women and harming them. Don't you feel a sense of accomplishment? Zhongli didn't respond to the man. Instead, she walked forward and said, "Does it feel good to control the life and death of others? Do you feel special when you see those women kneeling in front of you and begging for mercy in order to live?" Step by step, she walked in front of the man. Hearing her words, the man trembled. This scene caused the audience below the stage to fall silent. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. They had never thought that there would be such a side to this. Buying and selling human beings. You deserve to die 10,000 times. As she spoke, a long sword suddenly appeared in her hand. This long sword was taken from the group of people earlier. What do you want? Let me tell you, this is the Imperial City. Murdering people is against the law. Besides, are you sure you want to do it in front of everyone? Aren't you afraid that they won't punish you after you leave? The man was afraid. Zhongli's chilling, murderous intent made him feel as if he had been plunged into 1,000 feet of ice. However, no matter what the man said, Zhongli remained unmoved. The corners of his lips curled into a bloodthirsty smile. He raised his head to look at the deathly silent crowd below and sneered. This group of people deserves to die. Just as you've said, I'm really worried that they'll expose me, so everyone here deserves to die. Because of your intentions, who knows how many people you've harmed. Therefore, you all deserve to die. As she spoke, the long sword hung directly at the man's throat. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. Say goodbye to this world. You won't be alone. Your subordinates, these hundreds of people, will all go down to join you. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener did. Zhongli didn't restrain his voice. Therefore, everyone present heard what he said. How dare you? This is the Imperial City. If you dare to cause a major incident here, you won't be able to live a peaceful life in the future. So, a courageous young man stood up and looked at Zhongli. Letting us go is your best choice. I guarantee that no one here will betray you. So don't worry. The man seemed to have Zhongli in his grasp. After he finished speaking, he stood up and walked outside. Wang Wen, who had just arrived on the stage, naturally heard the young man's words. Looking at the young man's back, Wang Wen laughed until he cried. He had seen people who wanted to die, but he had never seen someone who didn't care about his life. This guy was really playing with fire. He'll definitely die in 1 minute. All right, I'll bet. In an instant, Wang Wen and the others began to place their bets. They wanted to see what would happen to the person who spoke just now. Zhongli didn't know. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care because they guessed correctly. The young man who spoke was already a dead man in Zhongli's eyes. Looking at the young man, Zhongli sneered, "You're very brave. However, it's a pity." Pity? Pity what? The young man asked subconsciously. It's a pity that you're already a dead man. After he finished saying those words, he took a step forward and arrived at the edge of the stage in an instant. With a stomp of his feet, he leapt into the air and arrived before the young man in 3 breaths' time. A large blade was placed on the young man's throat. As the saying goes, the bird that sticks out will be shot. Originally, you could have just enjoyed your life. Unfortunately, you insisted on being the bird that sticks out. Thus, Pucci, a bloody light flashed past. A bloody fountain sprayed out from the young man's neck. Screams, shouts, and panic. When the crowd came back to their senses and saw the current appearance of the young man, they all dispersed in an uproar. At this moment, those people who had looked down on Zhongli earlier had a new evaluation of him. This woman was not someone they could afford to offend. That was the only thought in the crowd's mind. Seeing the crowd's fear of her, Zhongli smiled and returned to the stage. She arrived beside the young man. At this moment, the young man was so frightened that his legs went weak and he fell to the ground. If you want to be the bird that sticks out, I welcome you. However, you should consider how heavy your heads are. The crowd once again retreated to the back. If they had the chance to charge forward again, they would rather stay at home and eat grapes and enjoy the life of being served by servants than to come here and suffer such a mental torture. Zhongli snorted coldly and turned around. She focused her gaze on the young man again. Because the long blade had killed someone, the blood had not dried yet. It dripped down the blade and onto the ground. She arrived in front of the young man and placed the long blade on his throat. There was nothing but ruthlessness in her eyes. In your next life, remember to be a good person. Slash. The fountain of blood appeared again. At this moment, the women who had been bought by the crowd were all excited when they saw the young man being killed. They could no longer control their emotions and screamed. Tears flowed from their eyes uncontrollably. One by one, they knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Zhongli. Their eyes were filled with reverence. At the corner of the stage, the scarlet flame tiger who had been lying on the ground sneered. Then it got up and walked forward, suddenly appearing in front of the crowd. Perhaps because the Scarlet Flame Tiger's current appearance was not a threat to the crowd, Zhongli did not take the Scarlet Flame Tiger seriously. Below the stage, at the northwest corner, Zhongli looked at the little tiger on the stage. He could not help but smile as he waited quietly. He wanted to see what kind of trouble the little dragon could cause. On the stage, the Scarlet Flame Tiger came to the center of the stage and stopped at Zhongli's feet. It felt the disdain in everyone's eyes, and an unknown anger surged in its heart. Mother of Kerr, I'm a peak hierarch realm demonic beast that's about to enter the saint realm. You're just in the fasting period. How dare you look down on me? Of course, the Scarlet Flame Tiger would not say that out loud. It looked at the 8 people on the stage and finally locked its eyes on Zhongli. It came to Zhongli's feet and communicated with him using its divine sense. It sneered, "Little girl, you're courting death. Little starlight, to think that who? Who's talking?" Just when he thought that the matter was about to end, a childish voice suddenly rang in his mind. Fuck, am I so insignificant? Looking at Zhongli, the Scarlet Flame Tiger had the urge to kill him. Thinking is thinking, talking is talking. Looking at Zhongli's puzzled expression, the Scarlet Flame Tiger sneered and replied, "Look down. Then you can see this king. Look down." Zhongli looked down subconsciously. When he saw the miniature version of the Scarlet Flame Tiger, he was dumbfounded. He felt that he was cheated. "So cute, senior sister." At the side, Xiao Miao looked at the Scarlet Flame Tiger in Zhongli's hand and pounced on him, reaching out her hand to sign the contract. However, at this moment, the Scarlet Flame Tiger wanted to know how big the shadow in his heart was. "Little girl, you're courting death. And you." After warning Xiao Miao, the Scarlet Flame Tiger's voice rang in Zhongli's mind again. "Little girl, listen carefully. Quickly let go of this king. Otherwise, this king will let you know what terror is in this world." Hearing the voice in his mind, Zhongli couldn't help but focus his gaze on a fox. Until now, he still couldn't believe that the voice in his mind came for a little fox. Little girl, are you going to put this king down? Otherwise, if this king gets angry, the entire Hongtian Empire will have to groom you." Not only that, as he spoke, his eyes met Zhongli's. Suddenly, the illusion around Zhongli began to change. In the next moment, it was a battlefield filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Millions of corpses lay on the ground, and blood flowed for thousands of miles. A heaven-piercing demonic beast lowered its head and looked at Zhongli. It continued, "Your sect will also be annihilated because of your ignorance." Chapter 1284. Asterisk plop asterisk Zhongli's entire body was trembling as she sat on the ground. Cold sweat unceasingly flowed down her forehead. Her entire body was soaked with sweat. She was in a very sorry state. Her gaze was firmly fixed on the scene before her. Before her eyes, there was a mountain of corpses and an ocean of blood. Zhongli was completely stupefied. As someone who had always been well protected by her sect, when had she ever seen such a scene before? In terms of killing people, she had seen it before. She had even done it before. However, the scene before her eyes could not be described with the word kill. That was a massacre, a destruction of humanity. A mountain of corpses, an ocean of blood, a million corpses. What shocked her even more was that frightening, monstrous beast. The aura emitted from its body made her feel that before that monstrous beast, she was nothing more than an ant that was looked down upon and disdained by that monstrous beast. Furthermore, from those corpses, she felt that they were all very powerful. Any one of them could easily destroy the sect she was in. However, such existences were actually killed by the monstrous beast before her eyes. One could very well imagine how powerful that monstrous beast was. Zhongli's appearance was still in the Scarlet Flame Tiger's line of sight. Seeing Zhongli's current desire, the corner of its mouth rose, and it said coldly, "Do you believe this king's words now?" Suddenly, after the Scarlet Flame Tiger spoke, the scene of a mountain of corpses, an ocean of blood, a million corpses suddenly distorted. Then, it disappeared and was replaced by a furry little beast that looked like a little fox. However, at that moment, Zhongli's gaze was no longer as disdainful as before. Towards the scarlet flame tiger, she only had respect, fear, and panic. She who had not experienced that scene might have felt disdain for the scarlet flame tiger. However, that was not the case now. Although she had never truly seen that battle, judging from the scene, that battle was definitely very bitter and extremely shocking. Senior sister, you at a distance, Xiao Miao saw Zhongli sitting on the ground. Her body was trembling uncontrollably. Her lips were pale, and her complexion was pale. She couldn't help but feel worried and wanted to go up to support her. In her heart, her senior sister's orders were greater than anything else. In her heart, Zhongli was even more important than her family. Don't come over. However, before Xiao Miao could take a step forward, she was stopped by Zhongli's furious shout. Stay with senior brother Wangwen. Don't come over. She did not look at Xiao Miao. Her gaze was fixed on the scarlet flaming tiger. She was afraid that if the scarlet flaming tiger was unhappy, it would kill everyone present. Senior brother Wangwen, take them and kill all the human traffickers. As for those who were bought, let them all go. Then, this matter will be resolved. After that, as he spoke, he revealed a bitter smile and continued. After that, bring little junior sister back to the sect and tell the sect leader to cultivate in seclusion. This world is very, very big. There are many things that are stronger than the sect. Wangwen was stunned when he heard those words. He knew Zhongli's personality very well. Now that she had said those words, it meant that she must know something. Or perhaps she had sensed some danger. Therefore, thinking about it, he glanced at Zhongli, who was in a daze. Then, his gaze landed on his junior brothers and sisters behind him. In the end, he gritted his teeth and nodded. Don't worry, junior sister Zhongli. I will pass on your message. After saying that, he turned around and prepared to leave. However, this scene caused Xiao Miao to be unhappy. No, I want to be with senior Zhongli. I don't want to go back. I want. Little junior sister, stop fooling around. If it was any other time, Wangwen might not be so calculative with Xiao Miao. However, it was different now. Looking at Xiao Miao's unreasonable and shameless manner, Wangwen roared angrily and scolded her fiercely. Little junior sister, can you be a little more sensible? Since junior sister Zhongli said that she naturally has her reasons. What you're doing is making things difficult for junior sister Zhongli. Could it be that you want to see junior sister Zhongli in a difficult situation? Xiao Miao was stunned. She turned her head and looked at Zhongli. Her expression was dejected, and she could not stop the tears from welling up in her eyes. It was as if she would burst into tears at any moment. Looking at Xiao Miao's aggrieved expression, Wangwen sighed and walked to her side. He reached out and grabbed her hand. He said earnestly, let's go. Junior sister has her own things to do. Although she felt conflicted and aggrieved, she understood the situation. In the end, Xiao Miao compromised. She nodded and said weakly to Zhongli, senior sister, you must come back quickly. Xiao Miao is still waiting for you in the sect. After saying that, she turned and looked at Wangwen. Her tears could not stop flowing. Senior brother, let's go. Sigh. Looking at Xiao Miao, Wangwen sighed. He looked at Zhongli and nodded. Then, he led Xiao Miao and the rest towards the crowd. Looking at the departing figures, Zhongli's tears flowed. She laughed bitterly and looked at the scarlet flame tiger. Senior, I was powerless just now. If you want to pursue the matter, then let me alone atone for my sins. After saying that, she closed her eyes. Tears flowed from her eyes uncontrollably. She looked as if she was facing death with equanimity, causing the scarlet flame tiger to be stunned. Did you misunderstand something? The scarlet flame tiger's voice sounded in Zhongli's ears. What? I say, did you misunderstand something? When did this king say that I wanted to kill you or your brothers and sisters? This time, the scarlet flame tiger was dumbfounded. The reason why it released its killing intent just now was because it did not want to be ignored, looked down upon, and looked down upon by others. But now, it seemed that its intentions had been misunderstood by others. TSK, it had blown up. Thinking about that, it could not help but turn a look at Lin Ray. It looked at him with an I don't know, I don't understand gaze. You. Lin Ray naturally noticed the scarlet flame tiger's gaze. Lin Ray naturally understood the meaning behind the scarlet flame tiger's gaze. Thinking about Zhong Li's series of arrangements, Lin Ray smiled bitterly. He admitted that he was not a good person, but he had not reached the point where he would kill the innocent. Thinking about that, he raised his head and looked at the scarlet flame tiger. He transmitted his voice. Tell her that I have something to ask her. During this period of time, she will be by my side. After that, she will regain her freedom. Understood, Brother Lei. Seeing that Lin Ray did not mention the matter just now, the scarlet flame tiger could not help but heave a sigh of relief. It turned its head and focused its gaze on Zhongli again. During this period of time, follow her. I have something to ask you. After a period of time, after we have finished telling you what we want to know, you will regain your freedom. As for your sect, the scarlet flame tiger understood that she was afraid that it would go and destroy her sect. So, this king will not destroy your sect. You don't have to worry about your junior brothers and sisters. Saying that, it turned around and walked towards Lin Ray. When it reached the stage, it stopped and turned to look at Zhongli, who was still sitting on the ground in a daze. It said coldly, "Why? Do you need this king to ask you to get up?" No, no need." Hearing the scarlet flame tiger's voice, Zhongli's body trembled. Coming back to her senses, she quickly got up and followed the scarlet flame tiger to Lin Ray's direction. On the other side, Wang Wen led Xiao Miao and the rest to follow Zhongli's instructions. They released the people who had been bought and then killed those who were involved in the kidnapping and human trafficking. Only after killing them all did they leave. On the other side, Ouyang Zheng brought a group of women to the emperor's equal mansion. With his cultivation, he could reach there in the blink of an eye. However, these women were all mortals, so he didn't use his holy spiritual qi. Arriving at the entrance of the emperor's equal mansion, Ouyang Zheng looked at them and said, "Cultivation, this is the emperor's equal mansion. As long as Li Jiping knows what happened to you, I believe he will arrange for you to go back. If you don't want to go back, you can live here." Seeing that there was nothing for him to do, he didn't give them a chance to thank him and disappeared from their sight. In an alley not far away, Ouyang Zheng looked at the people standing side by side in front of the gate of the prince's mansion. He smiled bitterly and said, "I hope you can live well. The great Tao is merciless. The great Tao is merciless." With a long sigh, he jumped into the emperor's equal mansion. He had been here once, and with his cultivation, he could come and go as he pleased. Finding the place where Fan Jun was locked up, Ouyang Zheng tore space apart and jumped in without a word. In the depths of the emperor's palace, in a secret chamber, space was suddenly torn apart, and a hole large enough to accommodate a person appeared. Ouyang Zheng walked out from it. I'm always so sneaky. If those brats in the holy world knew about this, they would laugh me to death. Thinking about it, Ouyang Zheng shook his head and threw these matters to the back of his mind. Lowering his head, he looked around the secret chamber. In the next moment, Ouyang Zheng was dumbfounded. In his line of sight, there was no trace of Fan Jun. F***, what's going on? Looking at the empty secret chamber, Ouyang Zheng was stunned. Ouyang Zheng didn't know that after returning from the palace, Hongji had told Li Jiping about Fan Jun's assassination attempt, and Li Jiping had directly locked Fan Jun in the prison. How troublesome. With an impatient expression, Ouyang Zheng released his divine sense, enveloping the entire emperor's equal mansion. In his mind, the entrance of the emperor's equal mansion was very lively, and Li Jiping was naturally among them. And with him, as the center in the southeast direction, he saw the figure of a few breaths away. "Damn, so you're here." Looking at Fan Jun's figure, Ouyang Zheng smiled. With a wave of his hand, a tear appeared in space, and he jumped in. Facing the mission given by Lin Ray, he didn't dare to be careless. Otherwise, thinking about Lin Ray's methods, Ouyang Zheng's body couldn't help but tremble. In the prison, Fan Jun sat on the ground with a calm face, and there was no trace of panic or fear in his eyes. Rip! In the air, a tear appeared. Feeling the change in space, Fan Jun raised his head. The moment he saw the tear, he jumped up from the ground and knelt down respectfully. Subordinate Fan Jun welcomes the arrival of Master. Ouyang Zheng appeared from the tear and looked at the kneeling Fan Jun. He nodded impatiently and said coldly, "In a while, follow me out from the back door of the Emperor's equal mansion. After wandering around the streets for a while, return the way you came. At that time, I will be here to receive you. Do you understand?" "Understood, Master." Fan Jun didn't refute, nor did he ask for the reason. He only knew that he had to do the right thing, and this was also the reason why he missed the soul control pill. "Well, since that's the case, let's go." Ouyang Zheng grabbed Fan Jun's shoulder and directly pulled him into the tear. Then, when he appeared again, he was in front of the backyard door. He looked at Fan Jun and said, "Remember what I said. Go." Ouyang Zheng turned around and his figure disappeared, leaving Fan Jun alone, staring blankly at everything in front of him. "Forget it. Let's hurry up and complete the mission given by Master." Ouyang Zheng pushed the door open and walked out. In the outside world, in a hidden place, a young man's gaze was fixed on the back door of the Emperor's equal mansion. If Ruo Lin Lei appeared again, he would definitely be able to spit it out. Wasn't this the person who told him that Fan Jun had left from the back door at the city gate? Damn, there really is one. Seeing Fan Jun walk out from the back door, the young man's nerves tightened, and his face was full of excitement. He had to admit that the pain he suffered before was finally paid off. 10,000 taels of gold. At this moment, the young man seemed to be able to see the shadow of 10,000 taels of gold. "Yes, let's go and report first. If there is an accident, it will be troublesome." He turned around and ran away. In the dark, Ouyang Zheng's divine sense saw the young man's departing figure, and a smile flashed across his face. He knew this was Lin Rei's way of forcing Li Jiping to rebel. Of course, Lin Li didn't know about this. Even if he did, he wouldn't be too agitated. After all, he was the one who had arranged all of this. Now, things were going according to his plan. Wasn't it only right? On the streets of the royal city, coming out of the mansion, Lin Rei carried the scarlet tiger in his arms. As for Zhongli, she followed behind Lin Rei in a daze. She couldn't stop her gaze from sizing up Lin Rei from the mansion until now. Lin Rei didn't want to say anything about the gaze behind him. He understood what Zhongli meant. However, Lin Rei didn't expect that this little girl would look at him like this. This little girl was a little deranged. It had already been so long. How much longer did she intend to continue watching? Perhaps it was because Zhongli was looking at him that Lin Rei couldn't help but speak up and break the silence. "You come up and answer me." I?" Lin Rei suddenly spoke, pulling Zhongli back to reality. She looked at Lin Rei and asked, "Nonsense, of course it's you. I want to hear. If I don't talk to you, who will I talk to?" Lin Rei looked at Zhongli and said angrily, "Okay." Zhongli stepped forward, but he didn't overtake Lin Rei. Instead, he followed behind Lin Rei. He understood that if such a huge demonic beast could stay in Lin Rei's arms so obediently, then how strong was this young man in front of him? "This is the empty nether region? Aren't you living here?" Zhongli felt that Lin Rei's question was very idiotic, but he couldn't express it. He felt a little uncomfortable. Okay." Lin Rei shook his head helplessly and continued. "Are there cultivators here? How many? Are there sects? How many are there in the sects? Why can't I see any cultivators in the secular world?" Chapter 1285. Where are the cultivation levels of the cultivators here? Tell me everything about the cultivation of this world in full detail. Remember, don't try to lie to me. If I find out that you've lied to me, you should know the consequences." As he spoke, he released his killing intent, which instantly enveloped Zhongli. Suddenly, the surrounding temperature dropped. Zhongli felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Understood. Zhongli nodded heavily and stammered. Then he said, Senior, the empty underworld realm is very big. It can be divided into two parts. As he spoke, he pointed at the bustling scene around him and continued. For example, here is the secular world, which is mainly controlled by the secular empire. The realm where we cultivators live is the underworld. That is the world of cultivators. There are sects and everything that is not here. As for how many sects there are in the underworld, it is hard to say. There are small sects, medium-sized sects, first-class sects, and top sections. There are thousands of sects, and no one has really counted them. As for the cultivation levels of the underworld realm, they are physique tempering, star realm, nebula, star river, star spirit, star emperor, star ancestor, star venerable, star sage, and the last one is purple star. Hearing Zhong Li's words, Lin Rei fell silent. He had never heard of the cultivation system that Zhong Li mentioned. In the cultivation world, there were many cultivation systems, such as nascent soul, foundation establishment, physique tempering, and so on. But nebula, star realm, he had never heard of it. Even in the records of the cultivation world and the holy world, there was no such cultivation system, especially the spiritual qi in the empty underworld realm, which was different from the cultivation world and the holy world. Zhongli saw that Lin Rei fell silent and did not continue. He obediently stayed there and looked at the scarlet flame tiger in Lin Rei's arms with vigilance. Brother Lei, this cultivation system is a little strange. But I think since there are cultivators, it will be easier, the scarlet flame tiger said. When he came back to his senses and heard little tiger's words, he nodded in agreement. Indeed, at least now it was much better than when he had just arrived. He turned his head and looked at Zhong Li, who was silent at the side, and said in a daze, Tell me about your sect. Where's your sect? What's the strongest cultivator in your sect? Something in the underworld. Yes. Zhong Li did not dare to put on a hat at all. Since Lin Li had asked, she would naturally tell him everything she knew without holding anything back. After pondering for a while, he organized his needs in his mind and explained the situation of the sect. The strongest cultivator in the Xuanzong sect is only at the star spirit realm. It can be considered a small sect in the netherworld. But during this period of time, the sect has been expanding rapidly. Perhaps it won't be long before the sect becomes a medium-sized sect. Hearing this, Lin Rei rolled his eyes and ignored her. Seeing that she was a young lady, that was all she knew. After thinking about it for a while, he didn't say anything and continued to walk forward. He faced the two of them and didn't say anything. As for the scarlet flame tiger, it didn't say anything and just lazily laid in Lin Rei's arms, enjoying this kind of relaxed and comfortable life. At the back door of the emperor's equal mansion, Ouyang Zheng was waiting in the sky, waiting for Fan Jun to return. However, as time passed, the matter of the women at the front door was settled, but Fan Jun didn't appear. At first, Ouyang Zheng didn't think much of it, but as time passed, Ouyang Zheng finally felt that something was wrong. In the sky, he stood proudly and bent down to look at the place near the emperor's equal mansion. At the same time, he released his divine sense. Everything within a radius of 10,000 miles appeared in Ouyang Zheng's mind. Where are you, Fan Jun? Where the hell are you? Ouyang Zheng was anxious. According to the original plan, Fan Jun should have returned to the prison by now, and the person who went to report should have arrived at the palace. If they followed the original plan, they might be able to make Li Zhiping rebel faster. But now, the most important thing was that Fan Jun had disappeared. How could Ouyang Zheng not be anxious? How is this possible? In the divine sense, there was no trace of Fan Jun's aura within 10,000 miles. As for the surroundings of the emperor's equal mansion, there was no trace of Fan Jun. At this moment, Ouyang Zheng frowned and was dumbfounded. Lin Rei, who was walking on the street, suddenly came back to his senses. He released his divine sense and instantly captured the remnant of Ouyang Zheng's divine sense in the air. What the hell is this guy doing? Feeling Ouyang Zheng's divine sense spread out to 10,000 miles, Lin Rei frowned and his heart was full of doubts. Brother Lei, It seems that there is a problem with Ouyang Zheng. The silent red flame tiger suddenly spoke. Yes. Lin Li nodded, then let out a sigh. After coming here, nothing had gone so smoothly. His original plans hadn't gone as he had intended. Let's go and see what's wrong with Ouyang Zheng. After saying that, he ignored Zhongli behind him and released his cultivation. An energy shield directly wrapped Zhongli in it. Then, he stepped into the air and disappeared. At this, why did this person suddenly disappear? Yes, what's going on? F*CK. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Lin Ray left. Because he was confused, he didn't care about the gazes of the people around him. At this moment, the place where Lin Ray left fell into a panic and discussions. In the air, Zhongli, who was wrapped in Lin Ray's energy shield, looked down at the scene below him and froze on the spot. This is the ability to fly in the air that only cultivators at the Star Emperor realm can have. In the empty nether region, before the Star Emperor realm, no one had the ability to fly. Once they broke through the Star Emperor realm, they would learn the ability to fly in the air. At this moment, looking at Lin Ray, who was walking in the air in front of them, the fear on their faces changed again. They became respectful and recognized the strength of Lin Ray. They didn't exclaim and didn't speak. They were quietly carried by the energy shield. Alas, Ouyang Zheng's divine sense locked on the sky behind the Emperor's equal mansion. When he saw Lin Ray's figure in his divine sense, his whole body trembled and he smiled bitterly. I promised before, but now I lost him. This is a slap in the face. Before coming here, he was full of pride. Now, all that was left was the sound of a slap in the face. Fan Jun, don't let me find you. If you fall in my hands, I will let you know what it means to beg for death, but not to beg for life. There is no road to heaven and no door to hell. After saying that, he withdrew his divine sense and looked in the direction where he came from. Looking at Lin Ray, Ouyang Zheng couldn't help laughing and trembling. He wasn't excited or agitated, but afraid. He was afraid that he would be killed mercilessly. Chapter 1286. After witnessing Lin Ray's cruelty, Ouyang Zhen's heart was filled with fear. Finally, Lin Ray arrived. Lin Li led the scarlet flaming tiger and Zhong Li over from afar. Arriving in front of Ouyang Zhen, he looked at him with an unhappy expression and asked, "What's going on? Just now I sensed your divine sense. What are you looking for?" Hearing this, Ouyang Zhen's body trembled slightly. With a bitter smile, he suddenly knelt on one knee and replied, "Young master, Fan Jun is missing." What? Lin Ray was stunned. He stared at Ouyang Zhen, as if to confirm whether he was telling the truth or not. Fan Jun is missing. Not daring to look at Lin Ray's eyes, Ouyang Zhen repeated, "Just now, I followed young master's instructions and brought Fan Jun out. But who knew so you didn't check Fan Jun's location at all times. After a long time, you didn't see Fan Jun, so this happened, right?" Lin Ray guessed. Yes. Ouyang Zhen nodded. Looking at Ouyang Zhen, Lin Ray felt like he was expecting better from him. But then, he changed his mind and continued. "Did you not find Ouyang Zhen with your divine sense?" This puzzled Lin Ray. He was very clear about his cultivation level. A quasi-sage divine sense could cover the entire capital city and even its surroundings. How could he not find Fan Jun? Even if Fan Jun had the ability of a cultivator, he wouldn't be able to take out Ouyang Zhen's divine sense in such a short time. Moreover, Ouyang Zhen was just an ordinary person who only had a little bit of strength. How could such a person escape from the range of a quasi-sage divine sense in such a short time? This was something that simply couldn't happen. Brother Lei, why is Fan Jun not within 10,000 miles? At this time, the scarlet flaming tiger's voice sounded in Lin Ray's mind. Just now, the scarlet flaming tiger released its divine sense to search within 10,000 miles, but the result was the same as Ouyang Zhen's. There was no trace of Fan Jun within 10,000 miles. It couldn't even detect Fan Jun's aura. As the saying goes, There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. Now, two reverent-level cultivators couldn't even detect the existence of a Taoist. At this moment, Lin Rei's expression became serious. One person might be a coincidence, but two people in a row with the same result. This was no coincidence. Lin Rei's divine sense, with 10,000 miles of land, appeared in his mind's mind. Within tens of thousands of kilometers, every single person, every single thing, even an ant, all of it clearly appeared in Lin Li's mind. And yet, despite all that, Fan Jun was still nowhere to be found. Now, Lin Li truly believed that Fan Jun had gone missing. System, what's going on? Right now, none of the three of them were able to investigate. However, at this point, only the system could help them. Hopefully, the system could find Fan Jun. After all, in Lin Rei's mind, the system was very powerful. As for how powerful it was, he didn't know. Ding! Searching system. This search requires exchange points. Host, do you want to continue? Lin Rei was speechless. Damn it. He had to pay exchange points for everything. He couldn't stand it. He owed a few $100 million. However, after thinking about it, he felt relieved. As the saying goes, when you have too many lice, you don't feel itchy. When you have too many debts, you don't have to worry. Anyway, he already owed so much money, so what if he owed a little more? After thinking about it, he nodded. Xing, 50,000 it is. I want to see what can block our divine sense. At this moment, Lin Rei calculated in his mind. Something that could block their divine sense was definitely not ordinary. If he could get it and pawn it for the system, he might be able to get a lot of exchange points. Ding! Searching system. Searching for Fan Jun's location. Please wait a moment. After saying that, the system fell into dead silence. Lin Rei was used to this. He opened his eyes and looked at Ouyang Zhan. A smile flashed across his face as he said, "This isn't your fault. Even my and Little Tiger's divine sense didn't work. It seems like this world isn't as simple as we thought." After saying that, he turned to look at Zhongli, who was in the energy shield. He still had a use for this little girl. After all, this was still the secular world. He still wanted to go to the cultivation world here. After all, he couldn't come here for nothing. As the saying goes, a thief never leaves empty-handed. How could he return empty-handed when he entered a treasure mountain? Little girl, I'll have to trouble you for this period of time. After this period of time, you will be our guide and bring us to the cultivation world here to understand. That's right. I wonder if there are any natural treasures in the cultivation world here. How are the natural treasures here different from the ones in our cultivation world? Hee, I agree with Ouyang Zhan. No matter what, we have to get some things before we leave. Otherwise, this trip will be a loss. In the air, Zhongli was dumbfounded when she saw Lin Rei and the other two talking back and forth. Just a moment ago, the three of them were still acting like otherworldly experts. In the end, they turned into robbers in the next moment. This contrast, Zhongli didn't say anything. She understood that in front of the three of them, no matter who it was, she couldn't fight against them now. No. It should be that no matter who it was, the sect behind her wouldn't be a match for them. Zhongli didn't say anything. On the other hand, Lin Rei and the other two were chatting happily. They seemed to have forgotten about Zhongli's existence. They even started a plan to dig up all the cultivation ores in the underworld. At the side, Zhongli was sweating profusely when she heard Lin Rei and the other two's conversation. Are they still King human? They're just three robbers. For a moment, Zhongli began to pray in her heart. She prayed that they would enter the cultivation world and wouldn't affect her sect. Ding! The search system has been completed. Please check it. Just as Lin Rei and the other two were chatting happily, a system notification sounded. A screen was displayed directly in front of them. On the screen, a map of the entire capital appeared. On the map, a red line extended from his current position all the way to the south of the city. CK. When did the system update the navigation system? The planet he lived on, planet Aqua Blue, had a navigation system. Now that he saw this thing again, he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. If it weren't for the fact that the system's upgrade speed is too slow, there would be more things that you can't imagine. So, young man, work hard. Try to upgrade the system as soon as possible. Lin Ray rolled his eyes and didn't say anything. He said to Ouyang Zhen behind him, "Follow me later. Let's go and see what it is that can block our divine sense." Chapter 1287. In the sky, Lin Ray led Ouyang Zhen and Zhongli out of the Emperor's equal mansion and rushed toward the location indicated by the system. He really wanted to see what could block his spiritual sense. Although he was a middle-stage Dao fruit cultivator, his spiritual sense was stronger than an early-stage Earth Sage cultivator's. Since there was something in this world that could block his spiritual sense, it must be extraordinary. Inside the Emperor's equal mansion, Li Jiping sat on the main seat in the living room, looking ahead with a worried expression. Li Yunzhu, Annie Meng, and the others sat at the side, staring at the dazed Li Jiping, deep in thought. Today's events were too strange. So many people came all of a sudden and asked them, but they refused to say a word. They only said that someone asked them to come. As the saying went, there must be a demon behind this abnormality. However, they did not know that this was just a coincidence. The real demon was Fan Jun. However, Fan Jun went missing at this juncture. Sigh, he sighed and came back to his senses. He glanced at the people in the hall and said indifferently, "Everyone, get ready. I keep feeling that something is going to happen these days." The moment he said that, the originally heavy atmosphere became even heavier. They all understood what Li Jiping was talking about. Of course, while everyone was worried, Annie Ming looked outside. What is that fool Fan Jun trying to do? He knows that His Highness is being watched closely. Why did he go to the palace to assassinate him? Furthermore, thinking about it, Annie Ming felt that something was wrong. What kind of place was the palace? It was heavily guarded. Not to mention Fan Jun. Even the top experts in the Emperor's equal mansion might not be able to break through the palace's defenses. It was not because there were experts in the palace. Back then, there were so many Golden Guards and Imperial Guards. With Fan Jun's combat strength, how could he bypass so many people and sneak into the Emperor's bedroom to assassinate him? This was simply impossible. However, such an impossible thing had happened. She knew Fan Jun's combat strength very well. Back then, they trained together and went to the battlefield together. No one knew Fan Jun better than she did. So while thinking about it, she felt puzzled. She wanted to ask why, but Fan Jun gritted his teeth and refused to say anything. Now that he was in prison, he still refused to say anything. The most suspicious thing was, why did she faint in the secret room back then? How did Fan Jun get out? Everything was suspicious. If she could understand, Li Jiping could naturally see it as well. But why? Father, are we just going to let this matter go like this? Li Yunzhu suddenly asked. He turned his head to look at his daughter and asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" As soon as she said this, everyone's gazes gathered on her. Li Yunzhu did not fear the gazes of the crowd and spoke bluntly. "Fan Jun, he committed treason and attempted to assassinate you in the Imperial Palace. You could have sent him away, which would have given us a lot of time, and we wouldn't have been in such a rush. But you..." Li Yunzhu didn't notice that the moment he said this, the expressions of the people around him suddenly changed and became unnatural. Among them, Annie Ming's expression was the most serious. Fan Jun was not only her comrade in arms. She understood Fan Jun's feelings for her very well. It was just that she hadn't been able to express it for so many years. But now, the man she had decided on was going to be sent to his death by Li Yunzhu. This made her feel very uncomfortable. "Father, are we really going to continue to endure like this?" The more Li Yunzhu spoke, the more agitated she became. In the end, she stood up and said angrily, "Back then, you didn't tell me about Mother's matter. Now that I know, we cannot let this matter rest. He, Hongji, schemed against my mother and killed her in the end. You may be able to tolerate this, but I, Li Yunzhu, cannot." A bang. When Li Yunzhu was speaking passionately, and with high fighting spirit. Li Yiping suddenly slapped the table. Suddenly, the entire place became silent. Li Yunju was so frightened by this slap that she took 2 steps back. She looked at him with grievance in her eyes. She wanted to say something, but no sound came out. At this moment, Li Yiping was enraged. Looking at his daughter, he really wanted to lock her up. Umph. Little girl, you're already fighting and killing at such a young age. What do you want to do? Right now, the prince's residence is in danger. We have been surviving in the cracks for a long time. Now that we have finally stabilized, you want to stir up trouble again. As he spoke, his agitated heart calmed down. He said earnestly, Father owes your mother's matter. Back then, Father should have returned sooner and not stayed on the battlefield. This is Father's fault. As for Hongji, it's not time for him to die yet. Although we have our own absolute power in Hongtian Empire, most of it still belongs to Hongji. As soon as he finished speaking, a young man with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes stood up and walked slowly to Li Yunju. He smiled and said, Little sister, you can't blame foster father for this matter. Foster father is right. Brother, looking at Li Ling, Li Yunju spoke. She felt wronged and tears fell. Facing this elder brother in front of her, she couldn't hold it in and cried. That's enough, little sister. Seeing his sister like this, Li Ling placed his hand on Li Yunju's head and gently stroked it. He said, Yunju, you can't blame father for this. Right now, Hongtian Empire's army is split into 2 camps. One of them belongs to Hongji. Although on the surface, it is under father's control, Hongji is the one who has the final say. As he spoke, he looked at Li Yiping. It was as if what he was about to say was on another level. He was asking for permission. Speak. Li Yiping understood his godson's intentions and nodded in agreement. After receiving his godson's approval, Li Ling didn't hesitate and continued. In the entire Hongtian Empire, our prince's residence can only control 50% of it. Hongji also controls 50% of the army. However, his army is basically idle. They are either training in military camps or guarding the safe borderlands where there is no war. However, half of our prince's army is fighting with the enemy. Furthermore, the rest are guarding the borders. Tell me, what advantage does our prince's residence have? Then, Li Yunju wanted to refute, but when the words reached her mouth, she swallowed them. That's right, all of the soldiers were guarding the borders. There wasn't a single empty spot. It was the complete opposite of Hongji. How could they compete with the Empire and Hongji in such a situation? Thinking of this, Li Yunju didn't speak anymore and sat down. She was a smart person. In such a situation, if she made the slightest mistake, she would die without a complete corpse. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.